work, Beyond Vision is not just a gallery, but a complete art experience. Designed for the visually impaired, this art will engage the observer on a level beyond vision, adding touch, smell, taste, and hearing to the experience. The artist reception starts at 6 p.m. Friday, April 29th. Visit BeyondVisionArt.com to learn more. That's BeyondVisionArt.com.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
Mic 1. You're not on.
Oh, well, that's on.
There you go.
Oh, so I just wasted that whole intro? That was one of my best ones ever.
Not better than yesterday.
Yesterday. I have been told I was on the radar after yesterday. So there's that. But happy Thursday. Yes, it's a Thursday. I'm not going to lie. All day I felt like it's a Friday. It's been kind of a weird day. But it is what it is. I'm jacked to be hanging out with all of you here today on a Thursday. Got a big 3-hour show lined up for you today. Yes, a 3-hour show. That's right. I can't tell you the last time we had a 3-hour show. Definitely not this week. I was sick. We were out on Monday. Tuesday was Reds opening day. Wednesday, Reds played at noon, and we didn't come on until 5. Now we got to figure out what the hell to talk about for 3 hours. But I do know this, that there is a role for Baker Mayfield in this world. And Baker Mayfield, the timing of Baker Mayfield of when to drop news or when to do things to drop news to help slow news days. Because it was either beat up on Phil Castellini for 3 hours today or me defend my guy, Baker Mayfield. Because I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I haven't turned my back on Baker Mayfield. I want to make that very, very clear. I am getting a huge kick now. This is why I know I'm very consistent at my job. I hate Kev. I hate hypocrites. And there were a lot of Browns fans like me who were big Baker supporters, and I am following on social media the amount of people that have turned on Baker Mayfield. And I'm not turning on Baker Mayfield. The reason I'm not turning on Baker Mayfield is because I think that we all as human beings can relate to Baker Mayfield in a lot of different ways. I don't know how many of you out there, I know all of our listeners, every one of you has a different job than the other listener. Some of you have similar fields, of course. And if you are elite at your job, kudos to you. People think I have an ego. I don't think I'm very good at this. I would like to think I'm good at this. I hope I'm good at this. My bosses seem to like what I do, but it is what it is. But I don't look at what I do. I think I could always be better. I always want to be better. So I don't look at what I do and say, I'm perfect. You can't tell me what to do. I know everything. I know all. I may come across that way. But I think if you talk to my bosses, I think that's the last thing that they would actually say about me. But the reason I'm bringing all this up is because Baker Mayfield in a recent podcast, Kev, said that he felt 100% disrespected by the Cleveland Browns because they told him one thing and then did another. Now, I say this because I know a lot of people out there hate Baker Mayfield, and that's fine. Talked about hypocrites. I talked about consistency. A lot of you hated Baker Mayfield before this, so some of you I'm not really annoyed with because it's been on point for you to not like Baker Mayfield. But you Browns fans who have found it inside of you to all of a sudden turn on him, I just find it funny. Now he's immature. He's been immature since he got here. That never bothered you before, but now I love these Browns fans, Kev. You know what? He's never going to learn. Please, until Deshaun Watson showed up, there was nothing for him to learn. You were like me. You were all about Baker Mayfield. I mentioned how all of us are different, have different fields of work. And we all work really, really hard at what we do. But not all of us are the best at what we do. I'm not the best at what I do. Kev's really, really good at what he does. Kev does a lot of different things, and he's really, really good at all of them. Ask anybody here at the building. He's way more liked than me, not just on this show, but across the board. But I bring all this up because I don't like this mindset that the only way that you're allowed to feel disrespected is if you are elite at your job. That's the problem I have with all the hate that is going towards Baker Mayfield right now. If I feel like my bosses disrespected me and I'm pissed off at my bosses, I would find it even more rude of my bosses to say, well, Kenner, until you're elite at your job, you're not allowed to feel disrespected by us. Don't you see how unfair that would be? Think about you listeners with what you do. Some of you think you're really, really good at what you do, and I bet all of you are really good at what you do. Don't get me wrong, but I think we all know that in all of our professions, there is someone that is the best at what we all do. Maybe it's you that's the best at what everybody does in your profession, but I have a good feeling that the majority of our listeners are not. You're good at what you do, but you're not the best at what you do. So is the rule that you have to be elite at what you do to feel disrespected? Because I feel like we're at this point with Baker Mayfield coming out on this podcast that I feel like had been promoted for a while, and then it got quiet, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if it just came out. I haven't heard it.
I heard it.
You heard
it.
Okay.
I listened to it. You know me, man.
So he was asked about, did he, from what I understand, I guess the question was set up to him that he didn't bring up the Browns, but it was set up to him. Did you feel disrespected by the Browns? And in Baker Mayfield fashion, he answered it honestly. Baker Mayfield's a lot of things, guys, but he is honest. He does answer things honestly. I hate athlete interviews because they just give you coaches speak, or they give you pre-planned, meditated answers that they don't give you a whole lot. Baker's an interview dream. The media pretends to hate him, but they should love him because he's just he's content galore. So I bring this up because Baker Mayfield said that he felt 100% disrespected by the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield is not an elite quarterback. He is not the best at what he does. We can all agree on that. I'm still a supporter of Baker Mayfield, by the way. But we can all agree that Baker Mayfield is not elite at what he does. And that is the number one reason that everyone is mocking him for saying that he felt disrespected by the Cleveland Browns. Let's be real. The NFL is a cutthroat business. Me and Kev, we work in a cutthroat business. To be honest, at the end of the day, I don't know why we word it that way, as if we're above people. Oh, listen, you guys don't understand. We work in a cutthroat business. Business is always cutthroat. Good businesses are anyways. If you keep people in positions at your job just because you like them and they're not good at what they do, but you keep them there just because you like them, then you're not a cutthroat business, and it probably means you're not a good business. So that's kind of where I'm at with that, as Kev is just, you all right? I mean, damn. Yeah, do I need to get a mask? I mean, my goodness, give me some of that. I need some of that hand sanitizer. But no, so I say all of this because the backlash going towards Baker, I'm getting a huge kick out of, because it's like everyone is like, Baker, you're not good enough. You weren't even elite. You should have seen this coming. It doesn't mean that as a human being that he is not allowed to feel disrespected. If the Cleveland Browns came to him and said, you're our guy and you're our starter, all while looking at other quarterbacks. Now, in some of the critics' defense, yes, Baker should know the room, read the room. He should know that, hey, I'm not elite at what I do, that if there's a chance for my team to upgrade at my position, they're probably going to do so. So he should not have been shocked that they went out and got Deshaun Watson. But it doesn't mean that as a human being that he's not allowed to feel disrespected by his team. I'm here one more time to sum all of this up as I'm rambling. I get this. Baker's not elite at what he does. It does not mean that he is not allowed to feel slighted or disrespected by his team. And I think it's very hypocritical of all of you listeners out there who bash Baker Mayfield, mocking him for feeling disrespected because he's not elite at what he does, when I guarantee you the majority of you listening are probably not elite at what you do, yet you are very sensitive for how your boss looks at you, talks to you, doesn't talk to you, talks too much to the person next to you, it doesn't give you enough attention. You feel disrespected all the time. You're not elite at what you do, and that's okay to complain then. My point is this. Baker at times comes across tone deaf. Sometimes he's making this more about him. At times, as much as I'm a Baker supporter, I also understand the fact that, hey, you know what, dude? You probably should not have been shocked that they went out to get Deshaun Watson. I like Baker Mayfield. I actually think the Browns could have made the playoffs this year with the healthy Baker Mayfield, but I also don't blame the Browns for going to get Deshaun Watson. So I say all of that to say I don't have a problem with anything that Baker Mayfield said, Kev. I know it's Baker Mayfield. He's the most polarizing figure in the National Football League, probably outside of Cam Newton. Maybe even above Cam Newton now. But I will say this, that Baker Mayfield saying he felt disrespected by his team is getting way more backlash than Cam Newton, who basically just, we don't need to get into what he said necessarily.
Took it back to the 50s.
But yeah, I mean, Cam went old school and Cam got, backlash for what he said. But I thought what Cam said deserved a lot more backlash than Baker saying he felt disrespected by the team that told him, you're our guy. And then a week later went and got Deshaun Watson and sold the farm and would rather get a guy that may not ever see the light of day again if he gets behind bars. They would rather take their chance to get him than roll with you. Yes, you should feel disrespected. That's human nature. We would all feel disrespected. I just think it's a very bad precedent to set, Kev, that the only athletes that are allowed to feel disrespected by their team are the elite ones. Your thoughts?
I agree. I agree. We can't tell people how to feel. We can't tell people if they don't have the right to feel disrespected. But at the same breath, this is sports. This is the NFL. He's not new to this. He's seen people get cut on his team. He's seen people get traded from his team. Duke Johnson was released or let go from the Cleveland Browns because he wanted a contract extension and everything like that. So he's been in the league long enough to understand like how part of this business goes. And let's just say, for instance, he didn't know. Let's just say, man, I got my blinders on. I'm in my playbook. I'm all about ball. Let's just say that's how he operated. It's the responsibility of his agent and his lawyers and his handlers, or whatever, how you want to word them, to inform him, to let him know, like, this is how the business works. This is how the game goes. So I listened to You Never Know podcast. Shots out to Mike, the host of You Never Know podcast. Great pickup for him to have Baker Mayfield on his podcast. The one thing I'll say about this podcast is he didn't ask any real hard-hitting questions. These were layup questions. Now, this could be Baker and his team saying, hey, these are the things I'm going to answer. These are the things I'm not going to answer. Because I listened to this 90-minute podcast.
So you've listened to it.
I listened to the 90-minute podcast.
I have not. Okay.
Oh, yeah. When you go to the gym tonight, tune it in. So in 90 minutes, how many times do you think there was a question asked about OBJ?
Based on the way you've set this up, I'm going to assume 0.
Goose egg. In 90 minutes, and you don't ask one question about OBJ. Now, OBJ, who left the team middle of the season. OBJ, who went on to help his team win a Super Bowl. OBJ, who you couldn't connect with on the field. OBJ's whose dad put out a video on Twitter or Instagram basically saying that you weren't a good quarterback. Nothing about OBJ. Ask me how many times Coach Stefanski got brought up.
I'm going to assume 0.
Correct. 0. So the play caller and head coach, who obviously Baker has had a misunderstanding with, a riff with, or whatever, how you want to word it. You don't ask him any questions about that. You don't ask about, hey, practice. You don't ask about anything that went on in the locker room. You don't ask any of those questions. Like I said, shots out to Mike. He pulled Baker Mayfield on his podcast. We would love to have Baker Mayfield on our show. We're not able to pull Baker Mayfield on the show, even though you're a part of the fan club. So shots out to Mike. But those are questions that I was wanting to hear. I went back and thought I must have missed it. I must have missed the OBJ part. I must have missed the Coach Stefanski part, because the stuff that's leading the news, of course he feels disrespected. Every football player would feel disrespected if they were in his shoes. Lesser players than Baker Mayfield feel disrespected for getting cut. So I don't.
Andy Dalton, remember, Andy Dalton,
right,
who was always very quiet. And by the way, I'm not throwing him under the bus here, but Andy Dalton waited till after that. So what was season? When did they get Burrow? 20? That was the 20 draft, because that was the COVID, the virtual draft that they had.
April of 20. Yeah.
So that 19 season heading into that draft, there was rumors, they're going to trade him. They didn't trade him. And then he came out frustrated. Then they benched him for whoever the backup was, who I forgot about at the time. But then he was frustrated that the team wasn't moving forward with him, even though it was very obvious. The Bengals are in position to get Joe freaking Burrow.
Right.
Why would you think that?
Has to be more to this podcast than besides him being disrespected, because they're leading with this. Like, there has to be something else.
No, there's nothing else. To be perfectly honest, it's 90 minutes of just of a conversation. It's really nothing hard hitting, and I should credit Baker Mayfield, because he could have went scorched earth. He could have been throwing people under the bus left and right. He could have been throwing the GM, the ownership, the fans, the mascot. He could have been boom, 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 just dropping bombs left and right, showing everybody where the skeletons were and everything like that. He could have did that, but he didn't. So I guess I should give him credit for that. But I just find it funny that those questions weren't asked. And another big takeaway from this 90-minute interview, there is a sense of Baker Mayfield not having any accountability for what went wrong during his tenure in Cleveland. He has a part on there where, you know, I had an up and down career there. I mean, much like we talk about here on the show, first year was awesome, man. I didn't start right away, but we came in there and we had a great rookie year. The second year, it was terrible. We lost a ton of games. Third year, we made the playoffs. We beat the Steelers in the playoffs and everything like that. We were right there with KC, yada, yada, yada. And then last year, I was just banged up and everything like that. There's a gap in there where he doesn't even talk about his play. Like, yo, you're the quarterback. You are also responsible for how the team plays, especially offensively. So I found that alarming that he doesn't really dip into that. And then lastly, the thing about Baker Mayfield, and this is something I've always felt about Baker Mayfield, his biggest strength is his biggest weakness. His "I'll show you" attitude is what made him a walk-on starter at Texas Tech, a walk-on starter at Oklahoma, then a Heisman Trophy winner, and then the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. His "I'll show you I'm better than what you think I am" attitude. Ultimately, he played when he shouldn't have played. And for me, as just a fan of football, I would love somebody to tell him that. Like, hey, this "I'll show you" attitude is great, but we have to hone that. We have to channel that in the right direction, because you going out there playing, which was never also brought up, nothing about, so whose decision was it to have you going out there and play? That wasn't brought up on the podcast either. So it's a lot there. It's 90 minutes worth of stuff, but it's not the stuff that we care about, because obviously it's nothing nobody else cares about, because the only thing people are talking about is he's feeling disrespected. Those are 3 questions right there that are way more important than him being disrespected. What's up with you and OBJ? What's up with you and Coach? And why the heck were you going out there if you were so banged up? Never got asked.
So I agree with everything you've said. Now let me ask you this. That 90-minute interview, what % of it was Browns talk?
About 85%. It was a conversation. It's
so
not
85% of it was Browns talk.
I mean,
because if you're just joining us, I haven't heard the Baker Mayfield interview. He has, so that's why I'm trying to.
Most of it is Browns talk. Because I mean,
it's
like
very vague.
Yeah, I mean, it's about his time with Cleveland. He shows a lot of love to the fans, ton of love to the fans, but he also talks about how, you know, the boos affected him and it affected how he played, and, you know, the social media. I do give Mike a ton of credit for that. He asked, like, do you think you are involved, you and your wife are too heavily involved in social media, reading and everything like that? I would definitely give the host a lot of credit for that, because that's something I didn't even think about, would have thought about asking him, but that's a great question. And he said, yeah, to Baker Mayfield's credit, he said, yeah, he basically changed his Twitter password, or had it changed or whatever, so he could stay up off of it. But, you know, he's a sports lover, so when he's trying to find out about what else is going on in sports, he watches SportsCenter just like everybody else and everything like that. And his name constantly is coming up, and it frustrated him and everything like that. A lot of the stuff was about him, but ultimately it got to the Browns and it got to this season, and the big takeaway is him feeling disrespected from the Cleveland Browns because they told him one thing and did another thing. So,
So here's the deal on it. In 518-1410, let's open up the phone lines. The biggest mistake Baker Mayfield made was doing this podcast.
Really?
Because let's be clear. You brought up the points you brought up were, you don't bring up OBJ, you don't bring up this. If he brings up OBJ, he's an a-hole. Because then it's more of deflecting and passing off on him. And then if he says, well, OBJ didn't work in Cleveland because of me, now remember, he's selling himself right now too.
Right.
He should not have done my only problem with Baker is he should not have done the podcast. He said nothing wrong. The things he didn't say, We should be praising him for not throwing OBJ under the bus. We should be praising him for not throwing Stefanski under the bus, because had he done those things, that would have actually fit what people expected. He didn't do those things. In fact, the way that Baker is painted is that he should have done this podcast and said, man, I'm great. OBJ sucks. How about Kevin Stefanski? This fool can't call an offense. Oh, I mean, come on. Am I right? He didn't do any of those things. He admitted a lot of, hey, I'll let the booze get to me. And instead of us saying, hey, man, that's a lot of good. That's good self-reflection. We're saying, oh, come on, you make $18 million. That's part of the job. No matter what this dude says, it will always be twisted, turned. He is the most polarizing figure in the NFL. It is amazing to me. But I tell you what, let's pick up with this. 518-1410. A lot of good stuff coming in on Facebook as well. Jeffrey Thompson, Kev, he's a Bengals fan. He says, even I can admit that Baker got screwed. Hell, I think Baker was a good quarterback. He owned the Bengals, and if you can't admit that, then you're lying. Let me say this. To be fair, I don't think Baker got screwed. If there's only a handful of generational quarterbacks in the NFL. Deshaun's one of them. I don't care how good he is. Derek Carr is very, very good. Derek Carr is better than Baker Mayfield. I wouldn't have said that a year ago, but Derek Carr is a very, very good quarterback. If the Raiders had a legitimate shot to get Deshaun Watson without legal troubles, they would have been stupid not to take Deshaun Watson over Derek Carr. There's a lot of teams who are very good who are set at quarterback. Doesn't mean that they wouldn't upgrade if they had the opportunity. And that was the Browns. Hell, Kev, I don't even care. If Baker would have had an average year last year and they make the playoffs and the Browns still got Deshaun Watson, I still would not have said Baker got screwed. The Browns had a chance to get an elite quarterback, and they did that. Baker didn't get screwed. I can't get down with it, but let's pick up with this. 518-1410. A lot of good stuff coming in. Keith Tolliver on Facebook as well. Kev says, my problem with Baker is he's always the victim. Take some ownership of some stuff. What do you mean by that? I mean, he said, hey, I'll let some of the crowd boos get to me. He never really said it was my fault, but let's be clear, he can't say it's his fault. He's trying to put himself in position to get traded. He can't say OBJ's great, I'm why he was bad. Well, his trade value drops. Kevin Stefanski's horrible, I'm the real deal. Guess what? No team's going to want to bring a quarterback that's been up and down as him, that's throwing his head coach under the bus, his coach of the year, by the way, under the bus. 518-1410. Good stuff. I appreciate all the feedback. Let's get into it on the other side on the phones. 518-1410. We'll be back.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Okay, Cincinnati Reds fans, it's time for Roof Truths Triple Play from Enterprise Roofing. Roof Truth number 1, your roofer should be as dependable as your roof. Roof Truth number 2, your roofer should be in business for longer than the life of your roof. Roof Truth number 3, your roofer should live where you do. Enterprise Roofing is a proud partner of the Cincinnati Reds. For all of your roofing needs and to try our roof cost calculator, visit rooftruths.com.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 3 large sides, 6 fluffy biscuits, and 4 of your favorite Lee sauces. This is dippable chicken done right. Get the best in boneless chicken with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0.9% financing on the 22 Honda Pilot, Honda Passport, and Honda HR-V, and as low as 1.9% financing on all other 22 Hondas while supplies last. We can get the Honda you're looking for. We are taking deposits on current scheduled in-build 22 Hondas every day. See me, sales manager Jason High, for all the details. We're located Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I hope to see you soon.
The Meyer Distribution Center in Tip City is hiring for warehouse positions in all units. Includes flexible schedules, best-in-class benefits, starting wages up to $18.60, and $2,000 sign-on bonus. Candidates can apply online at jobs.meyer.com. Keyword search distribution. Location Tip City, or call 937-669-9155. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. Walk-in interviews are available with on-the-spot job offers. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Call 937-669-9155. Meyer is an equal opportunity employer.
4G, 5G, what about 3D? That's right. Don't just upgrade your phone. Upgrade your vision at iWorks Laser and Vision Center with Dr. Patrick Spencer with $1,000 off. Choose all laser LASIK or upgrade your cataract surgery with a premium lens. Read your text, drive confidently at night, all without glasses. Visit iWorksLVC.com or call 937-226-7870. That's 937-226-7870. Because at iWorks, it's all about seeing your best.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
Longer days, warmer weather. This is the time of year you need to be enjoying life without joint pain. Hey, it's Keith Byers. Time to call QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is helping people here and all over America get real, lasting pain relief. They use highly concentrated, cutting-edge, natural biologic treatments that can restore and repair damaged joint tissue, getting to the root of the pain. It's life-changing. You can get back to moving like you used to with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. If you have a nagging pain in your knees, hips, and shoulders, or back, and you're done with steroids and pain meds, call QC Kinetics. And if they're telling you surgery is your next option, don't do it. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation and free second opinion. Learn more about these amazing natural biologic treatments. Enjoy this time of year doing what you love. Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
April is National Donate Life Month. People everywhere are helping others by signing up as organ donors. Sign up at organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Into the money. It's the off season, and just like our favorite teams, we're focusing on our key free agents. We're giving away $1,000 a day. Listen for the winning word and enter it at wingam.com for your chance to win. It's the WING Free Agent Funds Cash Contest.
Justin Kidder, Kev Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. That's right. It's our free agent funds cash contest. Every hour giving out a keyword that when you hear that word that wins, you'll take that to wingam.com and you'll enter that winning word for a chance to win $1,000. So that's pretty cool. The cool part is when we catch word that one of the, again, this is a company-wide contest that we do. We don't try to hide that by any means, but when we do find out that we have local winners and we've had a few, that's pretty damn cool because I agree. Sometimes we get people that will message in and say, well, what's the likelihood of us winning this? And I can't lie to you. It's very high. Keep playing. We want you to keep participating. Well, guess what? My favorite part is one of the ladies that won is one of the ladies that continuously messages in all the time. Is this a local or national contest? I mean, what's the point of me doing this if it's national? I'm probably not going to win. Well, this woman won literally the very next day. I had nothing to do with it. I literally don't touch this. So actually I do. Bribery is always a great no. But that's pretty exciting for us too, because you get to hear the excitement. I mean, who wouldn't want an extra $1,000? Well, a chance to win an extra $1,000 coming up here at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. Speaking of the top of the 4 o'clock hour, we'll have a chance for you to win $1,000, and we're going to hear from the Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy. The Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy, again, we just chatted with him last week about the Reds heading into the season, and I try not to bombard too much of his time, but with everything that's happened this week with Phil Castellini, I wanted to make sure the Reds COO and team president, of course, with his comments about, well, where else are you going to go with all the fan criticism of the Reds organization, and instead of him, we're talking about Baker Mayfield and not taking responsibility for the team's issues and his struggles. I think that's a very fitting argument to be made about Phil Castellini Castellini of the Cincinnati Reds, the COO and president. So Hal Mccoy has had his experiences with the Castellini family, and this isn't a bash the Castellini, segment coming up, but it's interesting to hear Hal's perspective on this and kind of where the Reds go from here, and do they do anything from him? Where are they going to go? So, there's that. But excited to chat with the Hall of Famer. Also, Ohio State spring game coming up on Saturday. We'll have the Ohio State spring game preview show coming up immediately following the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. That'll be from 6 to 7. And then Shay Neal, our dude Shay.
Young Neil.
Wing Reds Weekly. It's our new weekly Thursday night show, all dedicated towards Cincinnati Reds talk. And Shay, he loves his Cincinnati Reds. And in fact, he'll have Nick Wiggett on with him today with the Reds organization. So excited about that. So Shay does a fantastic job. Looking forward to his debut show coming up here later on this evening. But let's pick up with spring game, on Saturday. So Bobby Carpenter will join us coming up in hour number 3 as well. But let's pick up with where we left off when it comes to Baker Mayfield. I opened up the show defending Baker Mayfield because I'm not going to do what some of you annoying Browns fans are doing. Yes, you annoying Browns fans. I'm a Browns fan, but you guys are annoying me. It is okay. Two things can be true at the same time. You could be happy that the Browns got Deshaun Watson and still be appreciative of what Baker Mayfield did. Baker Mayfield did not do for Cleveland what Joe Burrow has done for Cincinnati. Technically hasn't done for Baltimore what Lamar Jackson has done for Baltimore, but it doesn't mean that what Baker did for Cleveland should go unnoticed, because keep in mind, Baltimore is a very good organization. All right. Lamar coming in had more stability as far as an organization that was going to build around him and give him exactly what he needs to be successful. Now, you can argue that, the weapons haven't been elite as far as that's concerned. And there's still, the critics out there. Are the weapons not elite, or is it the quarterback not maximizing the talent being given to him? I'm not the biggest Lamar supporter, but I can go on a limb and say the talent hasn't been elite, although I do love the tight end that they have. And the receivers aren't terrible. But, look what the Bengals did for Joe Burrow. They took a beating in the media for taking Jamar Chase over going offensive line, and look who was laughing last. Well, it's still the media, because Jamar Chase was wide open down the sideline and Joe Burrow got, but you guys see my point. I say this because Baker Mayfield, yes, technically has not come out and said the struggles in Cleveland are my fault, but let's be clear. Baltimore was a winning franchise before Lamar got there, and they're still a winning franchise within there. It's a stable franchise. The Cincinnati Bengals, who I've labeled as one of the biggest jokes in sports, you know what? I was amazed to find out that when we did that decade survey, or not really a survey, but we started dissecting the last decade of Super Bowl appearances and AFC and North titles, that the Bengals have just as many as the Steelers and just as many as the Ravens as far as AFC North championships are concerned, and playoff appearances are concerned, and now Super Bowl appearances. The Bengals, despite the roller coaster ups and downs and not the most stable ownership, that's a franchise that you can go there and win. You want to know what a franchise that you can't go there and win? Cleveland. You want to know a franchise that tries and tries and tries, and no matter how hard they try, they always seem to fall on their face? Cleveland. So when people say that Baker Mayfield needs to take accountability for why Cleveland hasn't succeeded, I get a little defensive of that, because it's Cleveland. It's Cleveland. It's the Cleveland Browns. It is not as if Cleveland was a Super Bowl winning franchise or a team that had made the playoffs 7 of the last 10 years, and then Baker gets there, and then all of a sudden they look like they don't know how to play. This was a team that was 0-16. In fact, they had won 1 game in 2 years. They were one of the biggest jokes in all of sports. Some consider them still to be that way, but at least when Baker got there, that all changed. Because you want to know why people are mad? Is because, well, they're not winning. They weren't winning before, but why are people so angry that they're not winning now? Oh, yeah, because they have expectations. You know why they had expectations? Because they got a quarterback. Now, is he Joe Burrow or Lamar or Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely not. But you know how hard it was to find a Baker Mayfield? You know how many times that the Browns have had a number 1 overall quarterback or a quarterback drafted in the top 10 that couldn't even do anything remotely close to what Baker Mayfield did? And you guys want to sit here and act as if Baker is just this horrible human being and this bum quarterback. He's not elite, but damn it, he's not a bum either. I think Baker has been treated very unfairly in Cleveland. Some of it is self-inflicted, but I do got to say, there are some characters in sports that no matter what they do, no matter what they say, no matter what the result is, they will always be the guy that the media and opposing fans turn on. When the Browns were winning, and this is what cracks me up. Well, he needs to take responsibility for the team's struggles. Oh, you mean the same guy that you wouldn't even give any credibility towards when they were winning? When they made it to the playoffs, it was in spite of Baker Mayfield. When they won in the playoffs with his 3 touchdown passes, it was in spite of Baker Mayfield. But when they lose, it's because of Baker Mayfield. When they win, it's in spite of him, but when they lose, it's because of him. That can't be completely fair or completely accurate. It is accurate from the point of, yes, the quarterback is responsible for wins and losses. Yes, I'm not saying that he is totally immune to any criticism whatsoever. But let's be real. Can we just admit that you just don't like Baker? And that's where some of this mindset's coming from, because Baker went on this podcast and he didn't, everyone was waiting for him to do this huge accent. I'm going to point the finger at everyone else and take zero responsibility. But Kev's right. He did not throw Kevin Stefanski under the bus. He did not throw Odell Beckham Jr. under the bus. He admitted that, hey, you know what? I let the boos and the fans get to me. I let the criticism get to me. Isn't that what you guys have been saying? Oh, see, all he does, he can't handle the pressure. He can't handle the criticism. He's agreeing with you, and you're still mad. What do you want him to do? He is trying to get traded out of Cleveland. He wants out of Cleveland. Cleveland will not just cut him. Cleveland will not just trade him for a 5th or a 6th round pick. They want value. And by the way, if Cleveland truly thought that he had no value, they would have cut him by now. If Cleveland truly thought that they couldn't get more for him, they would have cut him by now. They know he is more than a capable enough quarterback to win in this league. They know that. The only reason they moved on from him because they got Deshaun Watson. It's not like they grabbed Mitch Trubisky and said goodbye Baker Mayfield, right?
Watch your tongue.
I'm just saying, like, it's not like, and it's not like they went and got Jimmy Garoppolo and said goodbye Baker Mayfield. They got Deshaun Watson. That's a quarterback that I would say 90% of teams in the NFL would have taken over the current quarterback that they have now. I'm just saying. So I say all of this to say, yes, I am staying consistent to my support of Baker Mayfield, because I'm also admitting he's not perfect. There's a lot of self-inflicted wounds that he, of course, has on his resume. But what you cannot do, Browns haters and Baker haters, you cannot say that when the team was winning, it was in spite of him, but man, they suck because of him. It does not work that way. That is not fair. Baker Mayfield was smart for going, he was dumb for going on the podcast, but he was smart for not. Kev wanted to hear about OBJ. Kev wanted to hear about Stefanski. Let's be clear. There's only 2 answers about OBJ that would have been realistic. OBJ was garbage. I was throwing him the ball and he kept dropping it. What a bum. Wow. Can you believe Baker pointing the finger at OBJ? Can you believe that he is not taking any accountability for why OBJ didn't work in Cleveland? That would have been the first route to go. He would have got beat down for that. The second route would have been, OBJ is an elite wide receiver, and I ruined him in Cleveland. It's my fault. Well, guess what happens now? No team will trade for him. Cleveland won't cut him. Now he's not happy. Cleveland's even more unhappy. And now he's just floundering. He's floundering now. The bottom line is it was a lose-lose situation to go on that podcast, because no matter what he said, he was going to get destroyed. Last point here. Why are you mad at him for saying that he felt disrespected by the Browns? What was he supposed to say? Baker, the team told you that you were going to be their starter next year. A week later, they give up every draft pick imaginable and give every single penny imaginable, fully guaranteed, to a guy that could potentially spend a decade behind bars. How does that make you feel? Honestly, folks, what did you want him to say? I'm happy. Man, I'm so glad that they moved on from me for Deshaun Watson. Of course he felt disrespected. You would feel disrespected. I would. And you can't say that, just because he's not elite at his job, that he's not allowed to feel disrespected. How many of you are elite at your job and yet still go home and cry to your significant other because I can't believe my boss didn't even say hi to me in the hallway today. My boss spends more time talking to that piece of crap next to me that does less work than I do, and yet they love him. You guys do this all the time. So let's stop making up the rules and moving the goalposts for a guy that, let's just all agree that you guys just hate, and that no matter what he does, you will hate him. He can go and run into a burning building and save 10 puppies, walk out with all of them, and you're going to say, typical Baker, risking his career to go into a burning building. It's always about him. Attention-seeking Baker Mayfield. That's what you guys do. Baker's not perfect. He's not elite, but he's not this guy that you guys are painting him out to be. So can we just take our foot off the gas just a little bit and admit, even for me as a Browns fan, I'm a Baker supporter, but I'm really happy that we have an elite quarterback in Deshaun Watson, and I'm pulling for Baker wherever he goes. That's kind of how I view it. But yeah, Kev, I know what you meant, but you brought up a lot of great points about wanted to hear about Deshaun. We all wanted to hear about OBJ. I'm sorry. We wanted to hear about all those things.
To Baker's credit, he wasn't asked. So there's no reason to bring them up. He wasn't asked. I'm talking about the host of the podcast, Mike. Like, if you're the host, you ask those questions because, those are the questions that me, you, and every other fan wants to hear. Like, those are the poignant questions that people want to hear. On the flip side of that, what if he did go scorch earth and start pointing fingers? Because the ultimate goal here is to be released. You don't want to be traded, because technically the Browns, if there was any team out there, they could trade him to any team out there. He doesn't have a no trade clause. He wants to go to the Seahawks. So in the effort to land with the Seahawks, your best effort to land with them is to be a free agent. So if he did go scorch earth and that was like the final straw, and the Browns was like, look, man, we got to shine, man. We're moving on. We're just going to cut you and everything like that. Like a la James Harden, wearing the fat suit down there with the Rockets and then deciding not to play any type of basketball with the Nets that back half, and they ultimately trade him. So the conspiracy theorists would say, why wouldn't he do that? So he could get cut, so he could go to the destination that he wants to go to. So those are like some of like the questions I'm bouncing off of you and the listeners. Like, what about that? Like, why wouldn't he do that? Like, I mean, since we're out there, I mean, let's be clear. His career is in limbo right now because he's in this is going to year 5. He's been replaced and everything like that. He has to get on another team ASAP, or he's going to be a career backup, because that's how this thing goes, because we move on from quarterbacks like that now. Like you didn't show me enough. Now you're going to be a career backup. How many guys out there? Like, look at Jameis. He was a backup with the Saints and everything like that. And he's going to be battling whomever the Saints draft as the starter next year and everything like that. We move off of these quarterbacks. So, not saying like I would be behind him going scorch earth and becoming a free agent, but if somebody was to say like, yeah, he intentionally went on there to badmouth the Browns and badmouth everybody so he could get cut, I wouldn't put it past him. And I wouldn't even really be mad at him, because ultimately his goal is to land with the Seahawks.
We see athletes.
We see them do it all the time.
Maneuver this constantly.
We see them play the bad guy all the time to get ultimately what they want. And then when they land up on their new team, they're right back to the same person that they were putting on the act so they could get to where they needed to be. So, I mean, if he would have did that, what could we say?
And that's what I meant by no matter what Baker did, there's always options. But no matter which option he picked, he was going to be the bad guy. There was never a scenario that Baker would have been given the benefit of the doubt, because, and I know you didn't mean to do it, or not that you didn't mean to do it, but like you did it without realizing it. But like, I wanted to hear about OBJ. I wanted to hear about Stefanski. But had you heard about OBJ and Stefanski, you would have probably agreed with the critics that are like, there he goes again, throwing people under the bus. That's not a leader right there. So like, that's what I meant. That's why I said it was just dumb to go on the podcast no matter what.
Yeah. Break that down.
Go on if you're going to go on the podcast, it should have been a tell-all podcast. It should have been if
you're going to do it.
Yeah, because everything, and especially in that, and I don't know what the relationship between him and his agent is, or even if he's in a position that his agent is trying to maneuver him through this PR nightmare anyways. But I would have done, if I'm his agent, I would have done everything, or his wife even. Maybe that is his agent.
Let's find out on the Google.
I would have done everything in my power to keep him off that podcast, because it was a lose-lose. If you throw people under the bus to make you look like the victim, there he goes again being the victim. And then if you go on there and say, I'm why Kevin Stefanski struggled last year. I'm why OBJ struggled and had to get out of Cleveland. Now, guess what? Now everyone turns on you. Oh, so you are bad. Well, now no team is going to have faith in you. Now the Browns definitely don't have faith in you. Now you have no trade value. Now the chances of you ending up somewhere in a good position are very, very slim. It's more than just what goes on the field. Everything. That's why Tom Brady is such a genius for how he maneuvers his way through everything. LeBron, the elite athletes, and Baker's not Brady. He's not LeBron. He's not these guys. Kevin Durant. Everything that is said and done is done very schematically. It's done. They're playing chess. Baker's a checkers guy. Okay, let's just be real. All right, he's a checkers guy. All right, some people can go out and they could play. They'll play the really fancy card games, and then other people play Go Fish. He's a Go Fish kind of guy, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But Baker, that podcast that should have been used for a purpose, and that purpose should have been to go either clear the air, to let people know that, hey, OBJ was the problem. His dad was the problem. Stefanski was the problem. They were the problem. If I look like a cancer, then so be it. How many times do we hear? I mean, when OBJ did it, by the way, when OBJ threw coaching and players under the bus, OBJ was the victim, right? How many times do we see that all the time? But when Baker does it, oh my gosh, he's just a bum. So, but that goes back to my point earlier. You have to be elite to get that benefit of the doubt. OBJ had enough of a resume from his time in New York for us to say, well, we've seen him be great before. Maybe it is Baker. Maybe it is Stefanski that's keeping him from being great. That's all. I'm a big Baker supporter. I think he's still a very, very, very good quarterback. He's a step below elite. He's a step below great, but he's way above. I think I put him in that category, Kev, with the Derek Carr and a Kirk Cousins. Quarterbacks that everyone's like, oh, man, if you could upgrade from them, do it. Okay, that's fine. That should always be the mindset. But the Raiders felt, you know what? We could do a lot worse than Derek Carr. And it's very hard to do a lot better than Derek Carr. So we're going to marry Derek Carr. The Vikings have said the same thing. We could keep hitting reset every couple years and trying to find that quarterback, or just say, hey, let's marry this quarterback that we know could throw for 4,000 plus yards. We know he could throw for 30 plus touchdowns. If we hit on a couple draft picks on the offense and defensive side of the ball in an NFC that's weak, the Vikings can strike gold. And I think that that's their mentality. And I think that that's what the Browns are ready to do. I think that the Browns tried for Deshaun Watson. They got Deshaun Watson, which was great. But had they didn't, I think they were ready to set up shop with Baker moving forward, because Baker, they've proven you could win with them. So that's the thing. That's
Tom Mills is his agent, and he's been an agent since 1996. So he's been around the block.
All right. I tell you what, it's this individual's birthday. We have Hal McCoy coming up here in just a few moments, but let's talk to Dickie. It's his birthday today, Kev.
Hey.
Where's he at? Which line?
Line 3, fellow Aries.
Dickie, how are you, buddy? Happy birthday. Dickie, that's so disappointing. No. Dickie, call back. Dick from Dayton, one of our favorite callers. He calls in with the most energy of any person out there. We got to meet him at a remote a few times on the Sunday morning show, and he just brings joy to every room that he's in. Love Dickie. Dick, give a call back, and love to tell you happy birthday, and I'd love to hear your voice on the show today, man. So give us a call back. But with that being said, we do have the Hall of Famer Hal McCoy coming up on the other side, and we have a lot to get into with him about the Cincinnati Reds. Again, a 2-4 start to the season after a 2-2 start, after the 4-game split against the defending World Series champions, the Atlanta Braves, in the, I should say, the season opening series, the 4-game road series against the Braves, before coming home to a complete disaster. And I'm not even talking about the 2-game sweep from the Guardians. It's everything else going on up top. But a lot of good feedback here about Baker Mayfield that I would love to dive back into coming up in the next hour. We have Hal McCoy coming up at the top of the 4 o'clock hour, including a chance for you to win $1,000 in our free agent funds cash contest. Plus, we have Bobby Carpenter coming up later on in the program as well to talk Ohio State football, as the spring game is coming up this weekend. Hour 2 of the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Coming up, hour 2 next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Attention, paying top dollar buying all junk cars. Junk Cars R Us, 937-542-1686. Serving Dayton, Middletown, Columbus, Springfield, Urbana, Richmond, and Sydney. Attention, paying top dollar buying all junk cars. Junk Cars R Us, 937-542-1686. Attention, Junk Cars R Us, 937-542-1686.
COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too. If you feel symptoms, even if they're mild, you should test fast. Test positive and at high risk for severe COVID-19? Then act fast with authorized oral treatments that can be taken at home and must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms begin. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your healthcare provider if an oral treatment is right for you. Learn about a treatment option at treatcv19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose. But those monthly fees. Get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
This is Mogul men, ready to hustle for that muscle.
Membership numbers at Sly's Gym have been racking up.
22 people have signed up for 6 a.m. buns of steel.
Now he needs more certified trainers to do all the heavy lifting.
I'm going to have to bulk up my staff.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
O'Reilly. This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Over the last year and a half, we all learned some hard lessons. One of the most important is that you can't put off the inevitable. Hi, this is Mark Davis at Dayton Memorial Park Cemetery and Mausoleums. No matter how hard it is to think about, we all need a final resting place. When pre-planning with your funeral home, please remember that cemetery arrangements must also be made. Call us today at 937-890-1831 or visit our website at DaytonMemorialPark.com. And remember, Dayton Memorial Park is a beautiful place to celebrate life.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
See Columbus Equipment Company, 7570 New Carlisle Pike in Dayton.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard, aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Welcome back to the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. In fact, if you're looking to buy or sell your home, give Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty a call today, 937-572-7425. Brad Mays actually was the realtor that helped my fiance and I purchase our first home together back in late December, early January. And we're really excited as we're embarking on the warmer months of the year, and we finally get to experience the really cool covered deck that we have, where we get to to, go out and enjoy some drinks, smoke some cigars, have company over. Really looking forward to experiencing our house as the warmer months are approaching, but could not thank Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty enough for his help throughout every step of the process. He was a major help to us. He will be a major help to you as well. So give Brad Mays a call today, 572-7425, whether you're looking to buy or sell your home. Brad Mays, Home Experts Realty. We welcome you back. I'm Justin Kinner with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We are also Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds. And of course, we have talked a lot of Cincinnati Reds this week. And unfortunately, it has not been a lot about the results on the field. And that's a whole other disaster that we could talk about in itself. But I think everyone's familiar with the comments made by Reds COO and team president Phil Castellini. And for those of you who are not familiar, take a quick listen before we bring our next guest on.
Well, where are you going to go? Let's start there. I mean, sell the team to who? I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, you want to have this debate, if you want to look at what would you do with this team to have it be more profitable, make more money, compete more in the current economic system that this game exists, it would be to pick it up and move it somewhere else. Yeah. And so be careful what you ask for. I think we're doing the best we can do with the resources that we have.
Be careful what you ask for. Reds president and COO Phil Castellini. That was his response, and a huge shout out to 700 WLW and Mo Egger for providing that audio. Really appreciate Mo. Been in communication with him all week, and that was quite a reaction that him and all Reds fans basically had in response to those comments. But where else would they go? That's a good question, and I'm excited to maybe get an answer to that with the Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy as he joins us now. Hal, I appreciate your time today, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Justin. How you doing?
Not too bad. And, it's unfortunate. I would love to talk more about the Reds on the field, I think. I think. But look, I know you've had your run-ins with the Castellinis in the past. And, I'm not saying that they don't want to win, but the actions speak louder than words. And unfortunately, the actions aren't very loud, and the words were very loud this week. Hal, when you were sitting back, I don't know at what point you caught wind of what was said, but is this being overblown? Are we overreacting to Phil Castellini's comments, in your opinion?
No, I don't think so at all. I think what he said says to the fans what the front office is saying, and that's unfortunate that they're not thinking about the fans, they're thinking about the bottom line. And to issue what was an idle threat about moving the team, which will never happen, but to say that, just, what more can they do to alienate the fans? They've already alienated them by not putting a competitive team on the field, by getting rid of all the popular players. That alienated them enough. And then Phil Castellini, who is an expert on bobbleheads, but not too much on baseball, to come out and say that. He made an apology, but it was a very thin apology. And words speak louder than apologies. And, the fans heard the original statement, and they're not going to forget it.
Now, Hal, quick question. Now, we've seen, you've been through the highs of highs with this team and the lows of lows covering this team throughout your decades and decades of your Hall of Fame career, covering this baseball team. We've seen there's been a lot of down years, and there's, you're not going to be a winning, franchise every year. You're not going to be a playoff team every year. And fans are smart enough to know that. In fact, I brought that up yesterday. I said, look, when he tells us fans, to relax and to celebrate this team, I feel like we've relaxed for many, many, many years. We've celebrated mediocrity for many, many, many years. But can you recall a time that the energy has been this low amongst this fan base? If this comment was made any other year, I'm sure it gets backlash, but I think you take that comment mixed with the extremely low morale of this fan base, that created the perfect storm the other day. Do you recall a time where the fan base has been this low as far as buying into this franchise right now?
And no, you're exactly right. It's piling on to the frustration of the fans. I can go back to 1982 when the team lost 101 games, and I don't recall the backlash and the fan discontent that we're feeling now. The fans are just tired of it. It's been since 1990 since they've been in a World Series. They've been in only 3 or 4 playoffs over that period of time. And they keep promising they're going to put a winner on the field. They're going to get competitive, relax, and take it easy. We'll get there. But it seems like every 2 or 3 years they start all over again. and call it a rebuild. Well, how long does it take to rebuild something?
You know, Hal, I was talking to one of my buddies about this whole situation, and he brought up a great point to me that if this was the Yankees ownership that said something like this, or the Dodgers ownership that says something like this would be the number one story on ESPN, on the homepage and everything like that. So my rebuttal to that was, well, is this just a case of it just being a local story, or is this just an explanation of baseball just not being as popular as it once was?
Yeah, I think you're right as far as being a national story. It just shows you where this franchise is. It's not really relevant. It's not relevant nationally. They don't talk about it nationally. You don't hear about the Reds on ESPN that much. It's all Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers. And you're absolutely right. Had one of the executives of those teams said that, it would be all over ESPN for the next week.
How so? When you hear Phil bring up the climate, not the social climate, the economic climate, Kenner, the economic climate of today's baseball landscape, where can we meet halfway and say, okay, there is some truth to that? Is there any truth to what they're saying about the roadblocks in the way of them being able to financially support a competitive team year in and year out? I mean, because I like to think that, okay, it's easy for us to be angry. It's easy for us to be mad. But at the same time, are there realistic roadblocks, or are they self-inflicted roadblocks that they're putting in the way of the franchise? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. Definitely you have the high-profile teams that are going to be there every year. But even the middle market and the low market teams can put together competitive teams for 2 or 3 years and make a run and make it to the playoffs. There's no reason why that can't be done. Tampa Bay has shown that it can be done, and there are other smaller market teams. St. Louis isn't that much lower market team than the Reds are, and they're there every year. So yeah, it can be done. I mean, there are tough times dealing with the money and keeping your high profile players, but when you have them, take advantage of it. I mean, the Reds were on the cusp last year. Had it been this year with the added team in the playoffs, they would have been there. They finished above 500. And instead of keeping that team together and fixing the bullpen, which they have tried to do this year, they dump everybody, and now they're starting over. I think had they made an effort to keep Nick Castellanos and kept Sonny Gray and a couple of other guys, Jesse Winker, they would be competitive this year. They would have a chance, but they see it another way.
How your interactions with the Castellinis, I mean, they come across as a group. And to be fair, look, you've worked in the sports media industry pretty much your entire life. You know that with this type of job, you have to have thick skin. You're going to get a lot of people that love your work. You're going to get a lot of people that don't like your work, right? I know the same thing here with what I do on radio, and the Castellinis have to be aware of that as team owners, that fans want to watch a winner. They want to support a winner. What I'm amazed at in your interactions with them, throughout their time in Cincinnati, they almost just seem caught off by how frustrated that the fans are. Like, that's really was my big takeaway. Yes, I was bummed out about what he had to say, but it was like watching him double down as the day went on. That's what really struck me as the most uncomfortable part about that. Because it's okay if you say something wrong and you're willing to come back and say, okay, guys, I screwed up, my bad. Shouldn't have worded it that way. But he doubled down on 2 or 3 different interviews throughout the rest of that afternoon. Your interactions with them, they don't like criticism. Nobody really does, but they really do not put up with anyone trying to question their authority at all. Your takeaways on just their approach to the criticism that they've received?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. As you mentioned, Mr. Castellini tried to get my job at one point. Didn't like, me telling the truth about the team. And when he first took over the team and promised a winner, the first 2 or 3 years, he was highly visible. You would see him in the clubhouse all the time. He would talk to the media. But as things progressed and the team didn't progress and he started taking criticism, he kind of went into hiding. You never see him anymore. He sits in his private box up there in Great American Ballpark and doesn't interact with the media because he knows he's going to have to answer some tough questions. So he doesn't like to do that, so you don't see him, you don't hear from him.
All right, Hal, last thing on the way out. I appreciate it. Sounds like it's feeding time for the pups, by the way. And, we have one of those dog cameras at home, and I always check in every once in a while. And around 4:30, 5 o'clock, that's when they start barking. Our neighbors hate us by the time we get home, so no worries. But
well, this is feeding time for my two, so they're starting to act up. One of them is in my lap right now.
Well, just like Reds fans, they're not very patient right now. And
no, they are not.
But last thing on the way out, it's a simple question, but what did Phil Castellini's comments and his actions the other day, will there be any repercussions as far as any kind of restructuring of the front office, or will they just move on like they always do and just kind of act like the criticism doesn't exist? Where do the Reds go from here? Because eventually enough criticism has to lead to some kind of turnaround, right? Or do you not see that making any kind of difference after what we heard the other day?
No, knowing the way they operate, I think they're just going to let it play out. And, Phil is Daddy's boy, and I think he probably got scolded by Dad and was told to make that apology, but I don't think there are going to be any reshuffling or anything, any retributions whatsoever. They're just going to try to let this die.
All right, good stuff. The Hall of Famer, Hal Mccoy. Hal, I really appreciate you. I just really wanted to get you on because I know about your interactions with the Castellinis, and this just was not a great look for them the other day, but always appreciate your time. Now go get those dogs fed, would you?
Thanks. Thanks, Justice. Take care, guys.
Yep, bye. The Hall of Famer, Hal Mccoy. Good stuff right there. And I tell you what, we're going to step away for a few minutes. Kev, I've only seen you cringe a few times of us doing the show together, and it's usually something that I've said. So it was kind of nice. Like, Hal, this is what I've told you about this before. Like, what I absolutely love about Hal is he doesn't hold back. He tells it exactly like it is. He's old school that way, and that's how all media used to be. Now, a lot of the media is a little bit more, they try to be buddy-buddy. They don't, just like team owners don't want to be criticized or not liked, reporters don't want to be not liked anymore. It's not me. It doesn't mean you have to go around and make everything, miserable everywhere you go, but you got to call it how you see it. Hal has always done that. It's what I've always respected about him. But yeah, I'm just happy that someone else said those things and it wasn't just me. Because yesterday I was like, oh man, did I go too far yesterday? I clearly didn't.
I think you're in the clear.
All right, good stuff from the Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy. If you missed that, we will have that up on the YouTube channel, ESPN Dayton. Make sure you go and subscribe to that. We'll also have that interview up on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. 518-1410. Takeaways from anything that the Hall of Famer said. We'll get into more of that Baker Mayfield stuff coming up around the corner. ESPN did put out a poll of the 4 most likely programs to play in the college football playoff next year. Yes, it's that weird April time. Just bear with us, right? Like, that's a weird topic. We also got Bobby Carpenter coming up an hour from now as well. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. We'll be back.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear and breezy, a high near 60. Tonight will also be mainly clear and breezy, a low near 45. And tomorrow is going to be partly cloudy, a high near 68. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Got a project to do? Use the right equipment and rent from Arts Rental Equipment. With over 50 years experience, Arts has the best selection, delivery, and service, plus 15 Arts locations. Work smart. Rent from Arts.
Message and data rates may apply. Please don't text and drive.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just text radio to 64,000 to start learning a new language today. RADIO to 64,000.
Where are those receipts? Tax day is nearly here. I held on to those. And Chanel is stressing. Why do I always wait till the last minute? Her small business needs a bookkeeper to crunch some big numbers.
All these spreadsheets make my head spin. None of this adds up.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
One historic game. A prime time event. Saturday, the USFL makes history with a special opening night as the Birmingham Stallions open the season against the New Jersey Generals. Live on Fox and NBC. The biggest game. USFL kicks off Saturday, 7:30 Eastern on Fox and NBC.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
KTH Parts Industries has immediate openings for second shift production associates and equipment technicians. KTH promotes from within, offers an attractive benefit package including medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a competitive wage starting at $19 per hour with annual increases and shift differential. KTH will be hosting walk-in interviews Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. Please bring a resume and photo ID to apply or see other career opportunities at KTH.net. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
It's time to hop in to Esther Price Candies and check out their ready-to-go Easter baskets or create your own basket with their variety of delicious cream eggs, peanut butter eggs, and huge selection of novelty chocolates. Easter is hopping around the corner, so don't wait and come into any of their locations to get your favorites. Give them a call to place your order for shipments or shop online at EstherPrice.com.
The homemade goodness everyone likes. There's a whole lot sweeter with fine chocolates from Esther Price.
Mow like a pro with Hustler Turf zero-turn mowers. They engineer their mowers to be maintenance and service friendly for the everyday homeowner while not sacrificing the build and cut quality they're known for. From the heavy-duty frame to the welded steel deck to their trademark smooth track steering, Hustler Turf zero-turn mowers deliver professional grade cut quality for a perfectly manicured lawn. Come in to Small Engine Service Pros to see the Hustler difference for yourself today. Small Engine Service Pros, 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
Veterans, were you exposed to harmful burn pit smoke while serving overseas? The Department of Veterans Affairs has recognized and is providing benefits to veterans who suffer with asthma, rhinitis, and sinusitis as a result of burn pit exposure. If you served in the Southwest Asia Theater of Operations or Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Syria, or Djibouti and suffer from any respiratory illnesses that you believe is a result of exposure to burn pits, contact the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Body Shop Manager at Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. Our technicians have over 125 years of total experience. That means we can repair your vehicle correctly and efficiently. So when you need a dependable body shop, we're here. And we repair all makes and models with new state-of-the-art equipment to get you back on the road quickly. Plus, we offer loaner cars during service and free estimates. Stop by and see us. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, State Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Contractors, use the right equipment for your project and rent from Arts Rental Equipment. No storage, no maintenance, no hassle. 15 Arts locations and online at artsrental.com. Work smart. Rent from Arts.
Would you like a cleaning product that can be used in the garage, the laundry, and the kitchen, and save space in your cabinet? Hi, I'm Bruce Fabrizio, inventor of Simple Green. Concentrated all-purpose Simple Green is the answer for versatile cleaning throughout your home and garage. I'm so certain you'll love Simple Green. If you're not 100% satisfied, I'll give you your money back. To learn more, visit us at simplegreen.com.
Simple Green, Simple Green. Napa know-how.
At
At Napa, we've got more ways to keep you mobile with huge deals on Mobile One motor oil. Right now, get a 5-quart bottle of Mobile One synthetic motor oil for just $29.95. Or get $5 back when you buy a 5-quart bottle of any Mobile One motor oil and a Napa Platinum filter. So wherever you're going and whatever you're driving, Napa helps you stay mobile.
Napa know-how.
At participating locations does not include taxes and fees. Advertised sales price not available in some states. Offer ends 4/30/2022.
Looking to save money? With DriveWise from Allstate, the safer you drive, the more you can save. At Allstate, better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie.
Into the money. The money. It's the off season, and just like our favorite teams, we're focusing on our key free agents. We're giving away $1,000 a day. Listen for the winning word and enter it at wingam.com for your chance to win. It's the WING Free Agent Funds Cash Contest.
If it's free, it's for me. That's always been my motto. Actually, anyone that works in radio. Actually, I hate when people say, people say in radio all the time, if it's free, it's for me, as if like we created that. But like, it's just, it's human nature. We all love free stuff. And if it's free, it's for us. And I think that that's kind of how we all view it. But Kev, if you head to wingam.com right now, a chance to win a lot of free stuff is actually available there right now. I mean, we have Chris Rock. Something happened with him recently that all of a sudden, like, he has kind of shot up the board.
Trending topic.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but a chance to win some Chris Rock tickets available at wingam.com. You just head there, you register daily. That is a date and only contest that's only being done at wingam.com. So we do indicate when it's a national contest and local, that's local. A great opportunity to win tickets to see Chris Rock, who added additional shows in Cincinnati later on this summer. So we're running that. Again, multiple pairs we're giving away, so make sure you go and take advantage of that. Let's see. MLB The Show 22. I was caught off guard by that when they sent us 20 copies of that for PlayStation, for Xbox, Nintendo Switch. But every time I think I've gotten over the age of like, I don't need an Xbox, and I get this MLB The Show 22, and I'm like, well, Nora, I have to get an Xbox now. I just have to, right? But we're giving those away, so go register at wingam.com. And while you're there, well, enter the key word, the winning word, for a chance to win $1,000. It is, again, the Free Agent Funds Cash Contest. Your winning word for the 4 o'clock hour here this afternoon, single. Yes, single.
Oh, the single ladies. Oh,
really
single
surprised
ladies.
Kinner's not single. Man, it would be nice if the Reds can hit a single. It would be nice if the Castellinis could put together a single playoff season for the Reds. Your winning word, single. Enter the winning word, single, at wingam.com. All right, good stuff. We welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. We just had the Hall of Famer on, Hal Mccoy, and a lot of good stuff from him about the fallout from Phil Castellini and his comments earlier in the week. I think that has been harped on a lot, and I think it'll constantly be brought up. I think that the Reds' struggles are going to continue, unfortunately. I meant to ask this to Hal. The team had a lot of life and energy in that first series against the Braves on the road against the defending World Series champion, the Braves. Again, there was only 4 games of a 162-game season, whatever. But they seemed to have different life during that series than they just were, although they had spurts of, coming back in both games, making it semi-interesting, despite large deficits early on. You give the Guardians a lot of credit, but they just something seemed missed. It just seemed, well, here we go again. And I think a lot of that had to do with the comments from Phil Castellini. So I had asked Hal in the last part of the show about, does he think that this is going to lead to any kind of change, any kind of reshuffling, or will the ownership just basically, they've already told us what they think of us. They're dumb. We're dumb. We're going to continue showing up. We're going to continue supporting the organization. And you want to know the sad thing is they're not wrong. Like, I don't view it as I'm going to Great American Ballpark to support the Castellinis. I'm going to Great American Ballpark because I love the ballpark. I love Reds baseball. And if those jerks are going to actually sell the team out of market, then I want to experience every game I can in Cincinnati, right? Maybe I'm being a little dramatic there, but you see my point. But I asked Hal if this is going to lead to any kind of change. Well, here's his response.
No, knowing the way they operate, I think they're just going to let it play out. And, Phil is Daddy's boy, and I think he probably got scolded by Dad and was told to make that apology, but I don't think there are going to be any reshuffling or anything, any retributions whatsoever. They're just going to try to let this die.
And I know people want to make a big deal about that, but let's be clear. Reshuffling, it's not going to change the mindset from the top.
Right.
It's not going to change. To be fair, we said this a lot about the Bengals and whatever change. People like to say, I don't give Mike Brown any credit for the turnaround of the Bengals. I give all that credit to Katie Blackburn. But the reason you have to give Mike Brown credit is because he had to relinquish power. Like I've always at least defended Mike Brown from that perspective. We get mad at guys like Jerry Jones and Phil and Bob Castellini and other owners who are set in their ways and they're going to do it their way. And they're going to, if someone leaves their front office, they're going to find someone that's almost a mirror image of that person as far as the mindset of being a yes man or a yes woman to run that position. Jerry Jones doesn't change. Bob Castellini doesn't change. Mike Brown for the many, many decades would not change. I know right now the popular thing to do is to give all the Bengals credit and the credit for the success to Blackburn, but I think you got to give a lot of that credit to Mike Brown for a guy his age being willing to relinquish power. Most guys his age don't do that. Bob Castellini won't do that. So when Hal McCoy says that it's probably not going to lead to any reshuffling, I'm here to tell you that you may be bummed about that, but even if they did reshuffle, a lot of times organizations reshuffle titles for PR purposes. To give the perception that there's hope, that there's going to be change. And really, the mindset's not going to change. Mike Brown, no matter who he would bring into the Bengals organization, they had to run it his way. So it doesn't matter if you bring in a completely different human being into that front office. They're still going to have to do and think and say and make moves exactly how the Castellinis want. So changing up personnel in the front office, which, by the way, the Reds keep doing. It's not like this is, hell, the Bengals at least had a consistent front office, right? The Reds don't have anything consistent. Every year it's different. So reshuffling it, it sounds like that's, an outcome that we want, but it's really not going to matter. So I just want to throw that out there. But yes, Ann Anderson, Kev, she weighs in and says, whenever I want an honest baseball opinion, I turn to Hal McCoy. His books are amazing and his insight is always spot on. And I believe he's right on this. It's not going to lead to any change in the front office, Kev. But at the same time, even if there was change in the front office, it's not going to be change of ownership. And as long as that ownership is there, it's going to be a lot of that small market mentality. I have a lot of friends that have a very small town mentality. Mm-hmm. And I used to have that small town mentality. And I sometimes forget how I've changed until I go back home and realize, oh yeah, we just think differently now. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. All I'm saying is that like when you stick around environments and you stick around people that all think like you, live in the same environment as you and do the same things as you, you're not going to grow. You're not going to change. You're just going to continue running in place. Mm-hmm. That's the Reds organization right now. You can keep bringing different people in, but they're all going to think the same. They're all going to talk the same. They're all going to execute the game plan the same. So to me, that's not going to matter. Change of ownership is the only thing that's going to impact this organization, but I don't see that happening. That's the one thing that Phil was consistent on. We're not going anywhere. He said that in the follow-up interview with Lance McAllister later that day. He said the same thing with Saho on WLW TV Channel 5 in Cincinnati later that evening. He continues to stick that. We're not going anywhere. So they're not going anywhere. So at this point, I think we're exhausting ourselves demanding sell the team, Bob, change the front office. That's not going to happen. So we have to make the best of this. And that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah, you're right. They're not going anywhere. I mean, this thing that they have going on in Cincinnati, it's a money train. We talked about the TV contracts and everything like that. And currently the lack of spending money, is bringing a lot of revenue in. And furthermore, this team's been down there 100 plus years. Like, I kind of do agree with some of the fans out there to say you think Major League Baseball would allow that to happen. I think Jerry said that yesterday when we were closing up shop. As I thought about it yesterday, I was like, at first I was like, well, yeah, man, teams leave all the time, man. Like, they got the power. But I mean, you think about the Cincinnati Reds leaving Cincinnati. I don't think Major League Baseball can even think about allowing that to happen. As far as them and spending money, I don't even. When you're a small market team, I think we talked about this yesterday. I understand their thought process. They'll spend money when they think they have a chance to win it all. We can argue back and forth about what teams do have a chance and what teams don't. But what you don't do is let homegrown talent bounce. That's what upsets people the most. When you develop a player, he's up to get paid, and then you let him walk out the door. I mean, we talked about this with the Cleveland Guardians and Francisco Lindor. I was ticked off about that when he left last year to go to the Mets and everything like that. This is a homegrown player. He's come up through the system. He's balling. He's went to the World Series, was the best player on the team and everything like that. And it's time to pay him, and you let him walk. And we don't have anything to show for it. It'd be different if we had a trophy to show for it. But now it's so many players that leave the Reds. It's like, so now what? Now what? And it's open. I think it affects people more because it was opening day. And I know you don't view it as opening day, but I mean, it's the first game of the season at home. It's the home opener. I think that him saying that in that setting is just rubs so many people the wrong way. Like, he's wanting people to come down there for the new beginning because it's a new season, because every season is a new beginning and everything like that. And then you have comments like that. That's a turnoff, man. That's a turnoff to anybody who was thinking about going down there. Like, okay, I can't make it down there for the home opener. I'll go to the next game on a Saturday. I could take the whole family down. You think those comments are going to make people go through the turnstops and root for their team and everything like that? It's not going to happen, man. It's just very disappointing.
518-1410. I apologize. Yesterday, we had meant to get to some Reds fans. Kev, I think I know who it is. I think we're okay. I had meant to get to calls yesterday, but just with the shorter show due to the Reds game being delayed and running into the show yesterday. So I don't want to do 3 hours of bashing the Castellinis and all that, because it's exhausting at this point, but I did want to make sure we got Hal McCoy's take on this just because of his experience with the group. And let me reset this too. Our opinions about the Castellinis are baseball related. It's not fair for me to try to present them who they are as people, because I don't know them as people. They don't know me as a person. And I would hope that they wouldn't present me in a way to people to make them think differently of me as a person. If they want people to think differently of me as a radio host, that's fine. That's part of it. But nothing I ever say is about them as people. And the reason I preface that is because I don't know them. I don't know Bob Castellini. I don't know Phil Castellini. I've interviewed them multiple times. I've met them at Reds Fest. I've had great interactions with them when they're here in Dayton at the Caravan. I'm sure they're great people. Like, just because they make decisions in sports that we don't like, it doesn't mean that they're not good people. So if we come across as aggressive, when Hal's aggressive, when I'm aggressive, if you hear media in Cincinnati being aggressive, it's not about who they are as people. And I do got to preface that, because when I first started in this business, and I still have a habit of doing it, I go hard at people. And I've learned my lesson on a few occasions. Sometimes I was like, I had to learn early, you can't just say whatever you want and there not be repercussions. There's been repercussions for a lot of things I've said, and some about individuals. And I've learned my lesson, if you will. But I also know at the same time, it's not that I'm attacking the Castellinis because I'm trying to be a jerk. It's out of frustration and defending Reds fans. And I don't view myself as different from any other Reds fan. I feel I'm fortunate to have a job I do to get to crack this mic and voice my opinion every day. But if I didn't have this job, I would just be complaining on social media like everybody else. So I do feel like we have an opportunity to be boisterous about what's going on without making it personal. If it sounds like I'm making it personal, that my bad on that. The reason I know it's not personal, Kev, I don't know them, so I can't make it personal. I'm not making fun of their families. I'm not making fun of any. I don't know, but I am going to make fun of their baseball decision making because their baseball decision making impacts me. It impacts my happiness as a Reds fan. It impacts us as an affiliate. It impacts a lot. So it impacts our listeners. So that's why, if you are wondering why this is such a aggressive take on a lot of this stuff, is because it's aggressive, and it is not personal, but it is very professional. I don't even know how to word this. It's just all about business, and business wise, I'm pissed, and I know a lot of Reds fans are as well.
This is something I should have asked Hal. What would have been the proper response to that question? What should he have said?
Well, I find this to be very similar to Baker Mayfield. There's no such thing as a proper response. We don't like that. That's why I get mad, especially with the civil unrest and everything, especially during the 2020, the lockdown and everything, when people, and I hate talking about cancel culture and stuff, like cancel culture, when that stuff gets brought up and people go to apologize, I know this sounds bad. I'm not saying that what they originally do doesn't bother me, but the apology almost bothers me more than the initial actions, because the apology usually brings about dumb responses, because the apology makes me uncomfortable half the time because it's not going to accomplish anything. Has anyone ever apologized publicly and it worked? Like, let's be honest. Will Smith went up at the Oscars in tears, apologized, and it didn't change anything. People doubled down on what he did, right? Anytime someone makes a mistake and says something they shouldn't, they apologize. You almost sound dumber with your apology than what you initially said. In fact, Tom Brenneman has done everything in his power to try to rebuild his image, and he is still mocked to this day. In fact, after the thing that happened with the Castellinis the other day, they brought up, and there's a deep drive to left center field. Like, they kept doing that. Like, he is mocked for his apology still. Apologies are pointless. Baker Mayfield taking accountability in Cleveland is pointless because you're not going to give him credit for taking accountability. You're just going to mock him for him admitting that, hey, I'm not that good. If the Castellinis say, you know what, guys, we've made a lot of bad mistakes. We're not a good ownership group. We have not done well by our fans. Do you think the fans are going to say, finally, they said it? No, it'd be like, see, they're admitting they suck. I knew it. They agree. They do suck. They suck. They suck. We got to get them out of here. They're just confirming what you're saying. I don't think that there was a right response to it. I think that we want to just attack people to attack people. Here's the thing. There may not have been a right response, but there's always a wrong response. Phil made the worst response possible. I do not believe there is such thing as a right response to that question, because no matter what he said, people were going to pounce on it. It would have been a headline on every show, no matter how he responded. But I do believe that there was a wrong response, and he nailed that wrong response. I mean, he hit that out of the ballpark, if we're going to use a baseball pun.
So if he would have said something of the ilk of, I understand your frustration, kind of like he said a piece in there that could have hit home. I'm not shining any trophies in the office either. Like, you have to, I don't say play to the ego of the fan, but you have to understand the fan's perspective when you're speaking to them. So if he's talking, hey, this isn't working out for us either. This isn't what we planned on either. We planned on being a winner here, and right now we're not getting the deal. We've seen teams say these type of things. It was like Jerry Jones. He's come out, on his radio show and said basically every single season for the last 30 years that the Cowboys haven't reached their goals and everything like that. But predicate to the fans, predicate to what they basically want to hear in that sense. And I think that goes over. I mean, it obviously would have went over a lot better than what he ultimately said. But like, I think it's just, I don't know. I keep going back to this. It's opening day, man. It's opening. Like, there's very few things out there with baseball that I like. Oh yeah, it's baseball outside of the team that I root for, that I tune into. Because I don't tune into the World Series unless my team is playing. But I do tune in to opening day, to the first couple games of the season, see what's going on. Oh, he plays for him now. Oh, you got traded. Oh, man. Oh, he's their number one pitcher. Like, all right, give him a little fix, and that's it. It's opening day. You say that.
But that was going to be asked no matter what.
Yeah.
It was asked because it was opening day. And I don't think that Mo Egger and them set him up to fail. I think he said
no.
It was that was actually just that's an easy one, by the way. Because you know how you get away with it? Like, here's the deal. If I'm sitting across from Bob Castellini or Phil Castellini, I can't say, all right, Phil, You've traded away all the fan favorites. I'm frustrated as a fan. Like, what do you got to say for yourself? That's the wrong way to ask it.
Right.
I give Mo Egger a ton of credit because Mo did the right thing. Mo Egger did the whole, all right, so what do you say to the fan that is losing faith in the front office based on the moves that they have made recently and basically starting a new rebuild? What do you say to that fan?
Right.
That was a great way to set that up because what Mo did is he created distance between him and Phil, basically saying, hey, Phil, I'm not saying it.
Right.
I'm not criticizing you. But this random fan, I'm just throwing I'm keeping that fan between that buffer.
Right.
All right. It was a buffer question that I'm basically asking, why are you making all these stupid moves? But it's that whole, hey, I have this friend, right? Like, hey, I have this buddy and he's going through this breakup and like, he's like, blah, blah, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it's basically he did, which is the way to do it because you don't want to be disrespectful to the guest. There's times where I don't agree with the guest or whatever, but I'm not going to be like, go at them aggressively. Like, and listeners, I know are getting on Mo Egger. You weren't, aggressive enough with them. I talked to Mo about this the other day. He felt like he mishandled that. I'm like, I don't think you mishandled it. That was opening day was not the day to create a beef between you and the COO of the team.
He probably wasn't expecting that line to come out of his mouth.
No, and I know I wouldn't have been like, and you know how many times we've done interviews where I'm like, I can't believe that person said that. I wish I would have countered with this, but sometimes you're not expecting that. You're so used to getting cookie cutter answers.
Right.
Bob Castellini did a TV interview and read every answer off of a piece of paper. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is because that's usually typical.
Right.
Everything is scripted. They're not giving you anything off the cuff. And the one time that they do, it led to, what we're experiencing now. So read off the paper. 518-1410. You know what? Because my ADD, Kev, I forgot what name popped up on there. I think it was Adam. Is this
Yes,
Adam?
Adam.
Adam, how are you?
Oh,
Adam, give us a call back. You there? All right, we'll get Adam back up on the other side here coming up. But 518-1410, phone lines are open. A half hour from now, Bobby Carpenter, former Buckeye. We'll talk spring game with him coming up around the corner. And Anderson says, Kev, you are so right. I cannot remember the last time that I attended a Reds game, but I have season tickets to the Dragons and have for 20-plus years. I know it's the same organization, but give me the Dragons ownership. Give me the Dragons ownership any day. And thank you for the shout out. Chad Kinser says, Chad Kinser says, I love Hal. He just said what I've said for a couple years now. Phil is a marketing guy, not an owner. To be fair, I don't think Phil is coming out and pretending to be the owner, but Phil is very well spoken at times. I do think that it's not fair for me to say it's not fair for me, to. Phil's actually very good at doing interviews. We've had Phil on before. Phil is usually a very good spokesperson for the team. Phil does a very good job of being a spokesperson on behalf of the team. I just think that was probably his worst interview, his worst moment he's ever done. And I think maybe he'd tell you. But I think the thing that caught me off guard, Kev, is they doubled down. Doubling down. That's what I found most unique about all of that. Last thing I'll make on this, or last point I'll make on this. The last Reds Fest that Mark Schlemmer and I did together, I'll never forget it because him and I popped up and looked at each other like, we can't believe that just happened. Bob Castellini, and I've been supportive of the ownership for the Reds for a few years now because we talked earlier about, what's the right thing to say to get fans to sympathize with you a little bit more?
Right.
Well, Bob Castellini looked right at Mark Schlemmer and I a few years ago, and then he looked because we were up on that stage at Reds Fest. Hundreds of Reds fans standing in front of us, watching the show. And Bob looks at Mark and I, at Schlemmer and I, and then he looks at the Reds fans and he apologized.
Mm-hmm.
I want to apologize for not putting a winner out on the field. Now, the difference is he got people sort of clapping and applauding. And so you could say, well, see, that right there, showing some kind of vulnerability to the fans, they can kind of sympathize with you. You want to know why that's not the same thing? It's easy to say, I'm sorry, Reds fans, for all the losing. We're ready to win. He apologized to the fans after they had signed Mike Moustakas, after they had signed Nick Castellanos, after the Sonny Gray deal, after the Trevor Bauer deal. This was that year heading into 2020, before we knew about COVID just ruining everyone's life, of course. But my point on that is it's easy to make yourself vulnerable when you just kicked ass in the offseason. It's hard to make yourself vulnerable when you didn't do a good job. And I think that that's the difference. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like the ownership was more sympathetic for the fans after they made great moves. right? Like, and then when they make bad moves, it's like they double down and put their chest out. I'll never understand. But I always respected Castellini after that for apologizing, basically admitting, hey, we haven't been perfect, that last rebuild wasn't perfect, and that they were tired of the losing and they apologized for the losing. So that's why they spent the money on Moustakas and Castellanos at the time. They made the move to get Sonny Gray. They spent the money on Trevor Bauer at the time and all that. They did all those things. They had everyone right in the palm of their hand. Hey, this ownership is great. Keep in mind, the Bengals were winning 2 games that year. The Bengals had won 2 games that year. That was the year they got Joe Burrow, remember?
Right.
And so the Bengals were the laughing stock of town. So while the Bengals were drowning, the Reds were getting Moustakas. They were getting Castellanos. They were getting Trevor Bauer and Sonny Gray and Wade Miley. And Akiyama obviously ended up being a bust. But at the time, that was a big deal.
Right.
It just showed that, man, the Reds just keep piling on more and more talent. This is great. So the Reds ownership isn't that far removed from showing that they're willing to spend money. But it's like they dove into a territory they're not familiar with, they're comfortable with, and they immediately jumped out right away. They jumped into the water without a flotation device. They tried to see if they could stay afloat. There was nothing to grab onto, so they quickly swam to the side and pulled themselves out. And that's what just happened with moving on from all these pieces. I just find it fascinating, and I got to be fair. We're criticizing them, but we're also 2 years removed from the Reds front office showing that they have the cojones to go out and make major moves. I just wish there was more of those 2020 offseason moves and not those 2021 offseason moves.
Well, the good news is they're headed out west to play the Dodgers. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. Shouts out to Dan. He just called in and said we're making him depressed with all the Reds talk.
You know what? He's right. You know what, Dan? You are absolutely 1,000,000% right. So with that, I'm just saying that's our feel-good music. As Pitbull would say, I feel good. And I feel good today. I'm done with the Castellini talk. You said that was Dan? Did Dan give a last name?
Dan did not have a last name.
Did he say where he called from?
He did not.
Dan, from wherever you're calling from, I'm 1,000,000% wrong. You're 1,000,000% right. This is depressing. Let's talk about some fun stuff. Let's talk about the Browns being better than the Bengals. No, I'm just joking. The Bengals are better than the Browns, at least right now, assuming, depending on what ends up happening with, of course, old Deshaun Watson. But talk a little Ohio State football. We got that coming up around the corner. NBA playoffs. In fact, that's what I want to talk about on the other side. You want to know why I can't stand the NBA sometimes, Kev? I feel like the athletes don't care. I feel like they care more, and I feel like this in a lot of pro sports. But something happened the other night that I was critical of and mocking and making fun of, and then JJ Redick made a great point that made me say, you know what, Kenner, you're wrong. I got to reassess this. Something happened in the NBA.
Record scratch.
Yeah, exactly. Something happened in the NBA the other night that made me say, oh, I'm wrong. And by the way, JJ Redick is probably the best new basketball analyst out there. Like, honestly, huge fan of his. But he made a great point. We are very critical of athletes for coming across as they don't care. They care more about their money. They care more about rest and off days. But something happened in the playoffs the other night that I want to talk about that really made me look at the NBA a little bit different. We'll talk about that on the other side. ESPN's Bobby Carpenter, former Ohio State Buckeye. He's going to join us 25 minutes from now to talk spring game. We got a busy hour, 10 minutes remaining of the show. We'll be right back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 3 large sides, 6 fluffy biscuits, and 4 of your favorite Lee sauces. This is dippable chicken done right. Get the best in boneless chicken with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
The CFOs that get it, get it. The CFOs that don't. Behold the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer. This isn't some bean counter. Today's CFO is critical to the strategy, growth, and profitability of the business. But in growing companies, there are two kinds of CFOs. One who's struggling to keep up with spreadsheets everywhere, manual processes, errors, and lack of visibility into the numbers. It takes weeks to close the books. And one who's on top of their game. Automated reports, inventory, e-commerce, and HR flow into the financial model seamlessly. Insights coming with a click of a button. This CFO uses NetSuite by Oracle with visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, and budgeting. NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. That's why NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system used by over 29,000 growing businesses. Like I said, the CFOs that get it, get it. The CFOs that don't. Head to netsuite.com/radar for a special one-of-a-kind financing offer. netsuite.com/radar. netsuite.com/radar.
Unlock your best lawn yet with the most innovative zero-turn mowers, lawn tractors, walk-behind mowers, and more at your locally owned Cub Cadet dealer, East Lawn and Garden. Like the Cub Cadet Ultima Series, zero-turn mowers that are engineered to give you next-level comfort and premium cut quality. All supported by genuine parts, accessories, and trained service technicians. You'll only find at your local dealer, so you can love to lawn for years to come. For expert advice, superior service, and exceptional offers, visit East Lawn and Garden at 1632 East US Highway 36 in Urbana today.
Welcome back to the quickest podcast ever, brought to you by Kohl's. Today's topic, Easter style. I love when everyone's dressed in their Easter best. Then you need to check out the deals at Kohl's. I got 25% off the perfect floral dress, a new shirt for my husband for only $34.99, and got 25% off outfits the kids are going to look adorable in. Cue the family photo op. Exactly. Did I mention you can also get an extra 30, 20, or 15% off with your Kohl's card and earn Kohl's cash? Looks like some bunny hunted down the savings. Select styles, 30, 20, and 15% offer on April 16th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Spilled your milkshake? Quick, the quicker picker upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading Ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Bounty, the quicker picker upper.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Menards has what you need to give your bathroom a fresh update. Hurry in and view our great selection of toilets from top brands including American Standard and Elger. Replace your toilet with the Elger Diplomat toilet. It delivers a powerful flush, and the ever-clean finish helps keep the interior clean. All toilets are 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through April 16th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Attention, paying top dollar buying all junk cars. Junk cars are us. 937-542-1686. Serving Dayton, Middletown, Columbus, Springfield, Urbana, Richmond, and Sydney. Attention, paying top dollar buying all junk cars. Junk cars are us. 937-542-1686.
Attention, junk cars are us. 937-542-1686.
Dan Abrams and Ashley Banfield are now back-to-back on News Nation. Get the news without the bias. Weeknights starting at 9/8 Central on America's fastest-growing cable news network, News Nation.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The WING Free Agent Funds Cash Contest continues coming up here at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Coming up here in just a few moments, we'll give you our next winning word. When you hear that winning word, you will take it to wingam.com where you will enter that word for a chance to win $1,000. There's already been a few winners here in the Dayton market as far as the cash contest is concerned, which we are beyond excited about. Will you be the next one? Well, you got to continue to listen throughout the day for that winning word. And when you hear that, enter it at wingam.com for your chance to win $1,000. I'm Justin Kinner alongside Kev Nash. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. A lot to get to coming up here in the third and final hour of the show. And Kev, I feel a little, lost today. This is the longest show we've done in a while as far, because with Reds baseball, spring training wrapping up, cutting off into our show a lot, not being on the air on Monday, and then the Reds opening day, and then the Reds afternoon game on Tuesday and Wednesday. I kind of like it. I kind of like that we're able to kind of take a deep dive into a lot of the topics that we haven't been able to spend much time on, including a topic that we don't spend a ton of time on, but we will as now we're officially entering the playoffs, the National Basketball Association. It is interesting, the NBA at times, the reason that I feel like, when I was growing up, I would watch regular season game, and I felt like no matter when that regular season game was, that it mattered. I would watch players be angry if they lost, whether it was game 14 or whether it was game number 75. It didn't matter. The anger on the players' faces. You would lose in November. It felt like you lost a playoff series. Now I feel like the regular season doesn't matter. Seeding in the playoff doesn't matter. And at times I feel like it's the players, and it's not that I feel like I know exactly why I feel the way I do. I feel that way because the players make me feel this way, that they don't care about the games themselves. When all you hear about is that the top players in the league work tirelessly to negotiate off games in their contract, that rubs me the wrong way. Kev's a little bit more open-minded with that, as again, it's, it's a business side of it, but it's like, when I watched that Last Dance documentary and how literally it took almost every front office personnel in the Bulls organization to literally almost hold Michael Jordan down. Michael Jordan was ready to fight somebody on the sideline because coaches wouldn't let him play. Now players want to fight the coaches who tell them, hey, get your ass out there and play. It's totally different now. And I know people say that, okay, well, the money's different now than back then. But what you got to understand is that what is a lot of money to players today would have been a lot of money to players back in the 80s and 90s. But you got to understand that the money that the players were making in the 80s and 90s, do you realize that back then fans were saying the same thing then? Mm-hmm. That's what I've never understood, is that, well, it's different now. There's more money on the line now. Yeah, compared to back then, but you got to understand, what we think is a lot of money now, what was a lot of money in the 90s was viewed at in the same way that we view a lot of money in today's society now. So I've never been a big believer in that. But something happened the other night in the NBA playoffs or in the play-in tournament, and I really don't know if I have an opinion on this or not as far as good or bad. I'm one of those, I don't like change. I thought it was kind of weird of the NBA to do this. I think that the NBA is so top heavy that I thought it was kind of silly to make a play-in tournament for a lot of bad teams. I understand why the National Football League wants to expand the playoffs because the majority of the teams that are competing for that final expanded playoff spot are really, really good teams. They have flaws and deficiencies, but they're really, really good teams. But it makes sense as to why you would expand the playoffs in the NFL. You're at least letting good teams in, right? The Eagles aren't a very, very good football team, but they won 9 games. In the East, you're talking about teams 10 games under 500 playing in a play-in tournament to make the actual playoffs. After 82 games, I think we've seen enough. I don't think I need to watch you after 82 games play in an additional tournament to get to the playoffs. I have an issue with that. I don't like it. But here's the takeaway I had from the other night. there was a game, I believe it was, what night would that have been? Tuesday. So the Timberwolves beat the Clippers 109-104. That's a huge win for the Timberwolves. It's an organization that is just, it's bad. They develop stars. Those stars want to bounce. Kevin Garnett, and I remember as a kid growing up watching Kevin Garnett in Minnesota and Latrell Sprewell and Sam Cassell. And they had Mark Madsen for the Lakers at that time. Like, I remember that was actually one of my favorite teams growing up. I loved watching that Minnesota team for whatever reason. Flip Saunders, the head coach. I was a big Flip Saunders fan growing up from that perspective. But then they got to the Western Conference Finals and they had to blow it all up. Kevin Garnett goes to the Celtics and, rinse, cycle, repeat. They get Kevin Love, start making the playoffs. They start winning, but just not enough to be able to get stars to go there. So Kevin Love leaves. He ends up going to Cleveland. Minnesota, they're constantly running in place. It's a constant cycle of, rebuild, tear down, draft, an elite player, build around that player for at least 2 contract cycles. Then that player goes elsewhere and then they start all over again. Well, I thought it was funny that after the Timberwolves beat the Clippers in this play-in tournament the other night, you would have thought that they won the championship. They were jumping on the scores table, taking their jerseys off, throwing it into the crowd. Karl Anthony Towns was hugging his wife, kissing his wife as tears coming down their faces. They cut it back to the TNT crew, and Shaq and Charles Barkley are losing their minds, Kev. They are laughing hysterically, and when they laugh, I laugh because they crack me up. I love it. They are absolutely hilarious when they are on a roll. But they were making fun of them. They were, Shaq said, and you're 2022 NBA champions, the Minnesota Timberwolves, because that's the way that they were acting. Charles Barkley started saying, we should be, singing One Shining Moment in the background after the way that they're celebrating. I'm laughing, making fun of it too. But JJ Redick made a great point. He goes, all we do is rip NBA players because we say that they don't care. We say that all they care about is the money. All they care about is contract perks and that, trying to find ways out of playing games. And that, when they lose, they're right on to, okay, well, I got to go join a super team. I got to leave this contract. I got to get out of here. I got to force my way out. And now here we get to see an actual NBA team full with NBA talent that is literally crying because they just won a play-in game. To us, it's just a playing game, but it meant something. Mm-hmm. I've been desperately wanting the NBA to make me feel like it means something to them so that it can mean something to me. And while I'm laughing at this, it took me listening to JJ Redick to say that for me to say that, oh yeah, he's right. It meant something to them. And for the first time, I feel like the NBA means something to some of these athletes. And here I am mocking and laughing them. I'm going to take a step back and not mock that anymore. It was actually kind of refreshing. What we love about March Madness is that we watch teams who care. We see the pain on the faces of the losing team. We see the joys on the team that wins. In the NBA, the team that loses is smiling from ear to ear just as much as the team that wins. It blurs the lines. It's hard for me to invest or care. Now, for the first time, I saw a team that won and it meant something to them. And that should mean something to me. It should mean something to you. Your takeaway, Kev, because I did mock it at first, but it did take JJ Redick's perspective for me to say, you know what? He's right. If it means something to them, it's going to mean something to me, and it's going to resonate with fans who want to feel like they're caring about something that the players actually care about.
I got where the T-Wolves players were coming from, especially Patrick Beverly. He used to play for the Clippers. The Clippers basically let him walk, said he was washed and everything like that. So his emotion, I mean, he's an emotional player and he's like a pest anyway. So that's typical Patrick Beverly behavior after a win because he wears his emotion on his sleeve. I understood it from the perspective of the second year guard. Anthony Edwards is second year in the league and everything like that. He's finally going to make the playoffs in the second year. A lot of players don't make the playoffs for years and years and years in the NBA. So he's cracking that. And then you look at Karl Anthony Towns, you think back to, all the personal drama that went on with his family, with his mom passing away due to COVID and everything like that. Like, emotion is a part of all sports. And for them to get over the hump and, think about it. They hadn't made the playoffs since Jimmy Butler was there. Jimmy Butler has played for Philadelphia for like 2 years. He's played for the Heat for I want to say this is like his third year. He's led them to the finals. Like, it's a long time ago. And Karl Anthony Towns was on that team. So like you're talking about like with Kevin Garnett and Kevin Love, like everybody was thinking like, all right, well, it's about his time to get up out of there and go somewhere else to try to win big time. But he ultimately stayed, and now he's reaping the benefits of it. Yes, it's a playing game and everything like that. But you're right. Like when the players show emotion and show that they care, the fans are going to show that too. And, they weren't the only ones out there super hyped. The fans were super hyped. The fans were happy. The fans were proud of their team knocking off the Clippers and making their way into the playoff. I think that this play-in tournament has been a resounding success so far. Granted, we're only this is like the second or third year of the play-in tournament, but we've been getting a lot of good games outside of that debacle that was last night with the Hornets and the Hawks. That's by the time I got home and turned it on, the blowout had started. The good part of that game was over. But, I think we getting pretty decent basketball. And I think this sells the game more because these are teams that aren't on TV a ton. We're going to see the Lakers on TV all the time, even when they're out of the playoff hunt. We're going to see the Knicks on TV all the time, even when they're out of the playoff hunt. Like when the Cavs just lost to the Nets on Tuesday night, that was like their third national televised game of the season. So you're finally getting a chance to see Darius Garland. You're finally getting a chance to see Evan Mobley on a big time stage and then not on NBA TV. You get to see them on TNT. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of stuff counts and that matters. And now the Cavs have a huge opportunity versus the Hawks on Friday at 7:30 on ESPN. So that's a game that everybody's going to be tuning in to as well. So I like it. I'm here for it. I didn't get a chance to see what JJ Redick said. And you're right. He is awesome. And him being a Dookie and everything that he does on ESPN. And when I agree with him, I have to remind myself he's a Dookie and I'm supposed to hate him.
Yeah, he's just, honestly, I don't just like him because he played a Duke, but like, he's so just, and I have a habit of this too. I like to yell my points. I have little man syndrome. So when I'm in a debate with someone, instead of just, sticking to my talking points and talking like I am now, I have to yell and I have to try to talk over you because you're not hearing me, damn it. Like, JJ is so damn cool because like he deals with Stephen A. Smith and he'll sit there and he'll put one hand over the other and he'll scrunch his eyebrows at Stephen A. and he'll let his eyebrows do the talking. And then when he does get to make his point, he just delivers it calm. And he has a way of tearing you down without tearing you down and without raising his voice. And I'm fascinated by JJ Redick. I think he is fantastic. I'm a huge, huge fan of his. I think him, Marcus Spears. I love Perk. Perk is fantastic. Like I love a lot of the ESPN talent they have throughout those shows throughout the day. But JJ's at the top of that. But you know what? You know what time it is, Kev? You know what time?
Oh!
We haven't heard that theme in a while.
You see it behind me.
Time to talk a little Ohio State football. Time to talk a little Buckeyes. How many of you out there are going to the spring game this coming up Saturday? How many?
Me, I'm going.
I'm pretty jacked about the spring game coming up on Saturday. I was joking with Kev before. I'm like, I think it's really weird. Like college football makes us do weird things. For instance, it makes us get jacked about a spring game that honestly, the result of the game means nothing. I honestly don't think we learn anything out of the spring game, but it's a chance to see the Buckeyes out on the field, at the shoe.
For a reasonable price, too.
And for the first, not the first time, but for the first time in a while, we get to hear them crack some pads. That's right. Tackling. And that's what's funny about this. This is a weird headline. Now, you don't like it. But Austin Ward with Letterman Row, an article that he put out, why Ryan Day wants the Buckeyes to bring tackling back live in the spring game. Some like it, some don't. Well, you know what? Let's talk about that. When we come back, we will have former Ohio State Buckeye Bobby Carpenter. We'll catch up with him, and we'll pick his brain on whether or not he thinks it's a good idea to have live tackling during a spring game, and does the fact that there will be live tackling intrigue you even more? We'll talk about all of that coming up, plus your winning word, a chance to win $1,000 for the WING Free Agent Funds Cash Contest. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. When we come back, former Buckeye Bobby Carpenter next.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Perfect air with a personal touch. Get up to $1,000 in rebates on a new Linux system or make no payments for 6 months when you finance a new Linux system for as little as $132 a month. Call William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning at 937-222-8638 today to learn more or visit online at DaytonHeatingandCooling.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. License number Ohio license number 14911.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Patients like Heather haven't felt this good in years, thanks to natural biologic treatments from QC Kinetics.
I have really bad arthritis in my right hand and my shoulder. Both would wake me up at night because they would hurt so much. Since I've been going to QC Kinetics and had the treatments, I'm already seeing such a difference. My pain level is just almost gone.
If you have chronic joint pain and are tired of using steroids and drugs and really want to avoid surgery, call QC Kinetics to learn more about how natural biologic treatments are giving patients lasting relief.
Oh my gosh, why did I wait? This is so great. Especially the way things have been going these days, things that you took for granted, we haven't had the option to do. And now I want to do them. I want to go out. I want to go for walks. I want to go hang out with my kids. And I don't want to be hurting.
Don't wait. Call now to learn more about regenerative restorative treatments that help your body heal itself. Call QC Kinetics.
937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. QC Kinetics. 937-936-0325.
It's time to upgrade your vision at iWorks Laser and Vision Center with Dr. Patrick Spencer and get $1,000 off. They offer the most advanced surgical and laser options for your best vision. Whether you want the latest premium lens for your cataract surgery or the best all-laser LASIK treatment, visit iWorksLVC.com and upgrade your vision with $1,000 off. Call 937-226-7870 and get your best vision for less at iWorksLVC.com, because at iWorks, it's all about seeing your best.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
Dan Abrams and Ashley Banfield are now back-to-back on News Nation. Get the news without the bias. Weeknights starting at 9/8 Central on America's fastest-growing cable news network, News Nation.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear and breezy, a high near 60. Tonight will also be mainly clear and breezy, a low near 45. And tomorrow is going to be partly cloudy, a high near 68. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Call It Power Washing. Introducing Call It Power Washing. Old man winter tough on your home? Call It for all your spring cleanup needs.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash is presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Excited to be back with you here on Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes, 1410 WING. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash, hanging out with you here on a Thursday. Huge shout out to the Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy for taking time and hanging out with us just a little bit ago. In fact, we had a chance to kind of pick his brain a little bit and to kind of get his take on what exactly went down with the Cincinnati Reds COO and president Phil Castellini when he made those, very controversial comments earlier in the week about be careful what you ask for. Now, I do think some of it might have been a little overblown to a certain degree, but at the same time, Reds fans a little testy, but shout out to the Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy for taking time and hanging out with us. We'll have that interview coming up for you later on in the program as well, but I'm excited to move on and bring on our next guest. Anytime we get a chance to talk with Bobby Carpenter, it's always a good day. Bobby, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, sir?
Not bad. I appreciate you taking time. I know it's a busy couple days for you here heading into the weekend, but I have a question for you that I don't want to come across as, rude by any means, you being a former Buckeye, of course, but a former college football player at that. But I don't mean this in a bad way, but like the spring game. Why should we care about a spring game? What do we learn from a spring game? Bobby, is there really any significance to a spring game outside of the fact that we just get to watch Ohio State on the football field at the shoe, right? Like, come on, help me out here. What do we get from the spring game?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit antiquated as far as the tradition. Like, most of the work now happens during spring ball, and a lot of coaches, they do situational work where, hey, they're going to push guys, here and there and set up different, whether it's third down, red zone, 2-minute, help do some skill improvement for your young guys, because that's really who it's for. But there's this balance of trying to, get better, but also make sure that you exit spring healthy. The last thing you want is for someone to have a debilitating injury that not only would, take up the rest of spring and summer, but also could potentially linger into the season. And you've seen that happen. So coaches now are trying to balance this. And so the spring game, they do their work where they can control the situation, they can control the scenario, and it limits that risk of injury, which is obviously great in football. And so the spring game now is, it's become, I call it the spring festival, the spring circus. That's essentially what it is, where, they do a lot of things. And this year will be a little bit different at Ohio State, just because the tone of this week with the passing of Dwayne Haskins has kind of changed everything considerably. But generally, it's a very light week. They'll get maybe a good practice in Monday or Wednesday. But, Friday's the coaches' convention. You got the next day afterwards, or the coaches' clinic. And so it's a little bit easier there. And then, they get former players involved for the spring game. They want to have everybody down there. They'll play maybe 2 good quarters. If you think about it, I mean, C.J. Stroud, Ryan Day said he's not going to play very much. I bet he gets a series, maybe 2. It's not a traditional game format. It'll be offense versus defense. So it's going to be a lot different, I guess, than, a normal game. And Jim Tressel used to go, and we'd sit there and we would play, 4 full 15-minute quarters under normal game conditions. And that thing would drag on for 3.5, 4 hours, and no one wanted to be there by the end. Not the players, not the coaches, because either A, it was a nice day, and you're like, I want to get out of here and go do something else, or B, you get the random 45 and rain day, which is absolutely atrocious, and no one wants to be there. And so, the fans leave. But it's just trying to find that balance. So Urban did a good job of, hey, we're going to go like 2 10 to 12-minute, full quarters with stoppages, and then second half, 2 10-minute quarters running clock, get out of there in a little over 2 hours, don't go up for halftime, stay on the field, and like 1 year they had Cardale throwing, the football like in different drills, and they've had guys and done races and whatever. That's what I would say. It's more of a carnival, a spectacle, like to give the fans something to look forward to get kind of outside and on hopefully a nicer day. Keep it short, keep it sweet. Don't let anyone get hurt, and kind of move on then into your next phase of your summer conditioning.
Well, you talked about it, nobody getting hurt. How was your feelings about Coach saying that he wants live tackling at the spring game this year?
Well, and here's the thing. I think that I'm a fan of live tackling. It's impossible to get better. It's something you don't practice. And so, everyone hates to see it when someone gets injured. And that's why in practice you can control it a little more and have early whistles. And I think they'll have quick whistles, on that. But first of all, the quarterbacks aren't getting touched. None of those guys, are good. They're going to be in black jerseys. You're definitely not touching CJ and even Noah Brown or Devin Brown and Kyle McCord. They're not getting touched. And so everyone else, they're not going to run the ball a lot. They'll be throwing, and they'll probably tackle, wrap up a little bit. It'll be a quick whistle. But you do have to practice tackling sometimes. And I think when you have a young defense, it's important for those guys to get out there and tackle in a kind of a game-ish environment where there is a little pressure and a little anxiety as well.
The fact that, on top of that, too, new defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, does that play a role, and maybe just a slight wrinkle here? Again, not going to learn an absolute ton from this, but also just maybe setting the tone that with the defense being down the last few years, having a little bit more physical of a spring game. Let's set the tone. We want to have that physical tone to this spring game kind of heading into this. You talked about that next stage of workouts heading into this offseason. Does Jim Knowles play a role in some of this too, just trying to kind of reset the tone of the urgency of how important the defensive side of the ball is?
I think he does. I think there's an element of that, but I think a big piece of it too is the fact that Ryan Day has touched on it. Ohio State got out physical last year in their final game of the season against Michigan. They got kind of out physical against Oregon for the most part, and so there's been a big emphasis on upping the physicality, if you will, of this Ohio State team. And it starts up front, obviously offensive, defensive line, and then it trickles back to the linebackers, running backs, and what have you. But I do think Jim Knowles does play a part in that. And there's going to be some scheme stuff. They put a lot in spring ball already, and you're not going to see, but a fraction of what they're going to show. And the old adage for the coaches is we want to see who can play football. Like you've learned stuff during practice. We're going to continue to develop and build out your skill set as far as, knowledge base. But we want to see if you can go out there and play football. So we don't want to cloud your thoughts and mind and overload you with too much information. So get out there, get lined up, play hard, play fast. And I do think that physical nature is something Ryan's been harping on. They've harped on it all offseason. They realized how they ended up losing, to Michigan last year for the first time in, about a decade. So that's something they don't want to have happen again. So I think you will see, probably brief, but probably a physical element to this game that maybe you haven't seen in a while.
You've been out at practice. How's this defense looking? Because I have zero questions about the offense. All my questions are about the beloved Silver Bullet defense.
Yeah, offensively, their offensive line, there was some questions there coming out of last year, and I think Justin Fry's got them straightened up. So I think they're going to be good. Obviously, the skill players are fine. But defensively, there was a lot of questions. Obviously, linebackers, weren't great at the beginning of the season. Thought they got better, Tommy and Steele, by the end of the year. Cody Simon's still out. But, those guys have played much, much better in the spring. It's amazing, what, number one, scheme, I think, helping, but then just general experience. And so they're doing a lot more stuff, but you have a lot more guys who have played a lot more football now. And with that, they're going to be better because you're older, they're more mature, they understand the game better. So in the secondary, they're going to be rolling through some young guys who are really skilled and highly talented. I think you're really going to like what you see there. And then you get a chance, to see some of these young defensive linemen, the Jack Sawyers, the JT Tui Molaus, who, have really played well and practiced really well. They're going to be really stinking good. So I think you'll be excited to see those guys out there. And this defense, I will say, will be markedly improved from where they were a year ago.
Former Buckeye Bobby Carpenter hanging out with us here on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Bobby, a while back we had you on to talk about the, at the time it was new news about name, image, and likeness. And, I'm so sick of those three letters, to be quite honest with you, but they're not going anywhere because they play such a huge role in the foundation of not just football, but all of college athletics at this point. But your thoughts on right now, like with you living in Columbus and being entrenched there, what are your takeaways as far as how the Ohio State program has really kind of navigated the NIL waters, and what are some impacts that you've seen it have on recruiting for Ohio State? Or is there some negatives that you're seeing as far as some things that Ohio State doesn't have that other programs do from that perspective, at least?
Oh, I don't think they've been hurt yet. But it was only a matter of time. The SEC, Texas, some of these schools were the head of the game, and they started there was independent, groups, probably partially led by the desire of the university of saying, hey, we need this to guarantee all of our guys this much money when they come in different position groups and different things. And so, Ohio State, there's a couple of collectives that have been formed. The Cohesion Foundation is one that just launched with a lot of big hitters in the Columbus area. Jack Nicklaus's son is on it. And you've got, Bobby Schottenstein on the board. A lot of big time players, and they're going to help be facilitating some of that. But people may not like it, and you can get upset about it, and you can hate it, and you can complain and do all of these different things, Justin. But the reality is it's here to stay. And so you just have to deal with it. And it's like the rain. You can complain about it, but the better advice is to get an umbrella and put on a raincoat. So figure out a solution. Don't just complain. And Ohio State, I think, has positioned themselves pretty well now. They're still recruiting at a very high clip. People love coming here. They love what they can do. They love that Ryan Day, the type of coach he is, both schematically on the offensive side of the ball and how he runs his program. Like, there's just so many advantages, and guys see that. It's just don't make them choose between, hey, I got a chance to go to Florida and they're going to give me $50,000 a year versus Ohio State, I'm getting nothing. If you make it close, guys usually are smart enough that I'm not going to step over dollars to pick up pennies. And not that, thousands of dollars is an insignificant amount, but it's insignificant to the amount of, like, if I'm a receiver and I have a chance to play for Brian Hartline and he wants me to come play for him, well, look at what he has done with the receivers that he has had and how he has developed these guys and become, really, after talking to some NFL guys, that come through, for pro day, like, he's the unquestioned best position coach at the wide receiver position in college football. And, like, all of them say, like, we love Ohio State guys. They're prepared. They're smart. They're great route runners. They're tough. Like, Brian prepares these guys for the next level, and there's not a big transition period. And so everybody understands that. They know it. And so it's like, okay, just keep it close. And we're going to come here because I'd rather be a first-round draft pick at Ohio State and maybe make a little less on the front end than, go somewhere else where maybe I'm getting a big NIL deal, but, maybe I never reach my abilities and I'm not drafted nearly as high as I potentially could be.
Bobby, you don't have to reveal too much as far as any players that you're familiar of, but, like, in your circles, what are some numbers that you're hearing as far as, like, we say NIL, we say, oh man, they can make big money going to this school. What kind of money are we talking here? Like, we're talking about the, obviously any athlete that's going to Ohio State is a big deal, of course, but without throwing out any names, I don't want to put you in that position, but, like, what kind of money are we really talking here? Like, when these kids are being kind of pulled between schools on the recruiting trail and money is kind of the deciding factor in some of these situations, what kind of money are we talking in these situations?
I think, some of these schools, I think there's guys that are getting healthy six figures when they started a place, which I've never been a proponent of that because I love the NIL concept, but how that worked in my mind was, you went to a school, you got good, you played football or basketball, whatever it is, and then someone said, hey, this guy's good, he's reputable, come, market our product, and, we'll work out a relationship with that, as opposed to using it as a recruiting tool. But a lot of the guys I've seen, there's a couple of car dealerships up here that have, that are bigger ones, Reichard being one, who's done a lot of deals with guys, and it's not illegal, it's out there. And so they've, Rick's done a great job working with the football and basketball team, to help facilitate some of that. And, some guys, obviously, the quarterback position's big. Those guys are going to be the ones to get the lion's share of all of it. Good news is, too, for them, they get the lion's share of the blame when things don't go well. But, yeah, some of the skill guys, they're getting stuff that's nice size, 5-figure deals. Some of them probably touching 6, and I talk like total stuff there to be able to kind of put themselves out there and to help facilitate some business interests with different companies.
Last thing here on the way out, just a quick NFL question. I'm a big Browns fan, of course, and I've been a big Baker fan, and I've never said that he's elite. I don't think he's elite. I'm still going to support Baker on the way out, but I don't blame the Browns one bit for being aggressive and trying to go get an elite quarterback in Deshaun Watson, and they believe that they have that. But you look at this AFC North on the way out, Bobby, tell us, how do you think it shakes out, assuming that no suspensions are handed down on Deshaun Watson, with the rosters constructed as is, still obviously with the draft coming up? How does the AFC North shake out in your mind? Again, Bengals just in the Super Bowl a year ago. Ravens, many believe, would have won that division or been right there at the top had they been healthy. The Browns, they get Amari Cooper, still not done looking at some wide receivers, still want to add a pass rusher. They have Deshaun Watson now, and then, of course, the Steelers get Trubisky. The AFC North is the most fascinating, or one of the most fascinating divisions in football. How does that shake out in your mind?
My goodness. Well, first of all, I'm gonna at least put an asterisk on this because I can't see Deshaun Watson getting less than 4 games. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I just think that, everything that has happened and how it's drawn out and some of the stuff that's been leaked. The NFL, they do whatever they want. They have their own reasoning. So maybe it's as many as 8, as few as 4. I would probably say 5 or 6. Even with that, I think the Browns are a playoff team. They need to add another receiver, continue to bolster their defensive line, a little bit as well, because they're a little weak there. Hopefully they can re-sign Clowney. The Bengals, with what they did with their offensive line in free agency, that was their main glaring weakness. They've got to, find a way to make sure they shore up their corners position a little bit. And maybe they do that in the draft. Who knows? But, offensive line, they've gotten that taken care of for the most part, continue to build there. And, they've got the quarterback. And Deshaun Watson's going to be really good. Lamar Jackson, assuming that every running back for the Ravens doesn't tear their ACL or knee up again, they should have a good shot. But those 3 teams, I don't know if you could definitively say which one you think will ultimately win the division. Pittsburgh, I think, will lag back a little bit. I'm not a hater on Trubisky. I don't think he's in the level of those other three quarterbacks. I mean, one's won an MVP, one's taken his team to a Super Bowl, and one is, I believe, led the NFL in passing. So there's a lot of boxes being checked there with those guys, and they all have pretty good weapons around them. And it's crazy to say, like, all those organizations seem fairly stable right now. So we'll kind of see what happens. But for the life of me, gentlemen, I wouldn't be able to give you odds more favorably for any of those three teams until I at least watch some games early in the year, because the Ravens would have been so much better had they not had those injuries. So that they're in a good spot. Their whole secondary and backfield was torn up, for goodness sake. So I would anticipate all three of those teams will be 10-win-plus teams, and that and the AFC West are going to be by far the two strongest divisions in all of football.
Ohio State spring game, Saturday at noon. Do you know the ceremony for Dwayne Haskins? Is that going to be prior to the game or at halftime or anything like that?
I have not heard. I talked to Ryan a little bit about it yesterday, and, they had some other stuff planned. And like I said, this is going to be, it's not going to be quite as fun and jovial as it normally is.
Right.
There's going to be a Dwayne centered piece to it. And, Ryan coached the guy. There's still guys on the team that played with him. And it's, as tough as it is for fans, I mean, it's devastating for them. And he's handled it as well as anybody. I'm not exactly sure as to the timing of how it's going to come about, but I do know that there will be they're going to make sure that they do it right. And they're going to do something probably during this season as well.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely an unfortunate circumstance at that, and just something I still haven't been able to wrap my head around. But former Buckeye Bobby Carpenter, awesome enough to give us some time today. Bobby, you're the best. Thank you so much. I know you're busy, so carving out time for us means a lot. Thank you, and have a great rest of your week.
Hey, anytime, guys. My pleasure.
All right, that's Bobby Carpenter again. Good stuff right there. And yes, not a whole lot of information as far as what to expect when it comes to the, memorial or whatever you want to call that, the recognition or whatever for Dwayne Haskins, and something that we haven't even really been able to dive into as far as that's concerned. But let's step away for a few moments. Good stuff there. We talked a little NIL, talked spring game, talked some NFL. A lot to unpack there from our conversation with Bobby Carpenter. We'll pick up with this when we come back. 518-1410. Phone lines are open. More Ohio State talk on Dayton's home of the Buckeyes, 1410 Wing AM. We'll be back in just a moment.
Message and data rate may apply. Please don't test and drive.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish is...
It's pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just text radio to 64,000 to start learning a new language today. RADIO to 64,000.
Hi, my name is Takia, and a little thing that I love about the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is when I take a bite, it's the perfect blend from the bacon to the cheese. It's perfection.
Hey, I'm Katora, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A mac and cheese is it kind of melts in your mouth. So you know it's creamy, cheesy, and delicious. This gooey mac makes me cheese every time.
Order dinner delivered on the Chick-fil-A app today. Delivery fee and other restrictions apply. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel. Me llamo Sean.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're speaking another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
3 weeks. It's incredible. After 3 weeks, I'm on vacation in Paris, having a conversation in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
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 Babbel. Évidemment. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Dealing with ED is difficult enough,
but the pressure of not satisfying your partner makes it even worse. ED can be tough on a relationship, but at HIMSS, you can contact a medical provider online and, if appropriate, get the prescription medication that treats ED at affordable prices. HIMSS ED medication has the same active ingredients as Viagra, but because it's generic, you pay 90% less. That's right, 90% less. A whole month's supply is just $30, and it's sent right to your home for free in discreet packaging. HIMSS offers the same medication you'd get from your doctor, but without the copay, expensive appointments, or awkward face-to-face conversations. And with HIMSS, every online visit is free, and your relationship right back on track. For a free online consultation, go to forhims.com/joy. That's forhims.com/joy for your free visit. forhims.com/joy.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 3 large sides, 6 fluffy biscuits, and 4 of your favorite Lee sauces. This is dippable chicken done right. Get the best in boneless chicken with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Hi, I'm Sales Manager Jason High at Germain Honda Beaver Creek, proud recipient of the prestigious President's Award. We are your local Honda dealer, and we invite you to see our newly renovated state-of-the-art facility. You'll be amazed at our selection, and remember, all new Hondas come with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit us at Route 35, just east of 675, conveniently located near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I'll see you soon.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
God, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Uma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Uma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Uma?
Yep. Switching to Uma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Uma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Uma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Uma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Dan Abrams and Ashley Banfield are now back-to-back on News Nation. Get the news without the bias. Weeknights starting at 9, 8 Central on America's fastest-growing cable news network, News Nation.
Attention, paying top dollar buying all junk cars. Junk cars are us. 937-542-1686. Serving Dayton, Middletown, Columbus, Springfield, Urbana, Richmond, and Sydney. Attention, paying top dollar buying all junk cars. Junk cars are us. 937-542-1686. Attention, junk cars are us. 937-542-1686.
Welcome back to the quickest podcast ever, brought to you by Kohl's.
Today's topic, Easter style.
I love when everyone's dressed in their Easter best.
Then you need to check out the deals at Kohl's. I got 25% off the perfect floral dress, a new shirt for my husband for only $34.99, and got 25% off outfits the kids are going to look adorable in.
Cue the family photo op.
Exactly. Did I mention you can also get an extra 30, 20, or 15% off with your Kohl's card and earn Kohl's cash?
Looks like some bunny hunted down the savings.
Select styles, 30, 20, or 15% off around April 16th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Spilled your milkshake? Quick, the quicker picker upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading Ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Bounty, the quicker picker upper.
Cub Cadet built the Pro Z series to the highest standards for long days and tough terrain. Our rigorously tested mowers feature maintenance-free spindles, air ride suspension seats, and some of the thickest steel decks in the industry. And with all new Pro Z SurePath mowers with auto steer technology, you can count on them to punch up your productivity. Further proof that the Pro Z series lets you do more every day. For expert advice, superior service, and exceptional offers, visit East Lawn and Garden at 1632 East US Highway 36 in Urbana today.
COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too. If you feel symptoms, even if they're mild, you should test fast. Test positive and at high risk for severe COVID-19? Then act fast with authorized oral treatments that can be taken at home and must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms begin. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your healthcare provider if an oral treatment is right for you. Learn about a treatment option at treatcv19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Look, it's heartburn. He's gonna try and ruin our vacation.
Don't worry. I packed Prilosec OTC. 1 pill in the morning prevents excess acid production that can cause frequent heartburn.
Nice. Aloha, heartburn.
Block heartburn from your summer bucket list with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Don't wait until you have heartburn to start Prilosec OTC. Kick your summer off right and look for Prilosec OTC at Walmart or Walmart.com.
Hurry into Menards today. Your plumbing headquarters. Remove or transfer water quickly with Barracuda utility pumps. These powerful, energy-efficient pumps are built to last. Be prepared for spring flooding and keep your basement dry. Achieve peace of mind with 11% off Barracuda pumps. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through April 16th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. It looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle squeals or grinds when you slow down or just isn't stopping like it used to, you may need new brakes. Through May 24th, check out the spring brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts and get 15% off a set of Brake Best Select or Import Direct brake pads with 2 rotors. Restore safe braking and save money now at O'Reilly Auto Parts or shop online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Attention, paying top dollar buying all junk cars. Junk Cars R Us, 937-542-1686. Serving Dayton, Middletown, Columbus, Springfield, Urbana, Richmond, and Sydney. Attention, paying top dollar buying all junk cars. Junk Cars R Us, 937-542-1686. Attention, Junk Cars R Us, 937-542-1686.
Rob tried to manage his constipation with belly pain, discomfort, and bloating day after day. After realizing it was irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C, he found another way and finally said yes to adding Linzess.
Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives. It lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2 years old. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. There could be more to your story with IBS-C. Talk to a doctor today. Say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. Sponsored by AbbVie and Ironwood Pharmaceutical.
The original green cleaner. Spring is here, which means it's time to wash away the dirt and grime of winter. Trust Simple Green to get the job done right for your home, yard, office, or garage. Learn more at simplegreen.com.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM. We had the Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy on the program earlier this afternoon, and then we just got off the phone with, of course, former Ohio State Buckeye Bobby Carpenter. Talked to Bobby Carpenter about the spring game coming up, and asked him right off the bat. I just laugh at the fact that I honestly, if you forced me to make a list of all the big takeaways that we get from the spring game, I couldn't. If you said to have a list of 5, Kev, I couldn't give you 3. I don't think there's anything that we learned from this Buckeye team in the spring game other than the fact that it's just an experience. I mean, he talked about the pageantry of it, just the fact that the Buckeyes, they're out on the field and the fans are there. The band is there. It's at the shoe. Football in April. You can't complain, right? Like, I think that's pretty cool at the same time. But I think that there's, the element of adding, of Ryan Day coming out saying for the first time in years is the first time in his tenure here at Ohio State that live tackling will be a part of the spring game coming up on Saturday. So you shake your head adamantly against that. You're against, you don't want it. You don't want the risk of injuries. Bobby talked about the importance of making sure that they get through this without any injuries, but yet it's the first time
he's a linebacker
in a while. And I don't know if Bobby mentioned it. I can't remember the last time that tackling was a part of the spring game.
It might have been when he was there.
When Tressel, and he talked about how Tressel treated it like 4 full quarters. It was an actual game. I mean, it was a spring game. I don't think Buckeye fans care, though. I don't think anyone, my biggest thing I always mock is, I'll never forget that year. Joe Burrow, and unfortunately, to bring up the name Dwayne Haskins, which we haven't even mentioned yet as far as the unfortunate thing that happened over the weekend. But that spring game, I'll never forget. It was Dwayne Haskins versus Joe Burrow. And, man, you would have thought, based on the way the media framed it, that the starting quarterback, QB1 was on the line. It wasn't on the line. But I just don't think that exists in these games. But if you're going to watch a competitive game, then shame on you. This is just a chance to see the Buckeyes out there.
Yeah, it's not the spring game the big thing. It's something that we don't see as fans. It's something that every single coach on Ohio State sees. All the other 15 practices. This is just the last one of the spring calendar that we as fans get to go see. So it's a part of the evaluation process, but now it's not really even a part of the evaluation process because so many guys, that go through spring practice, they have nicks and bruises and everything like that, and, want them to push it in the last day. So it's the whole evaluation process. So us as fans, we're seeing one of what do they do, 15, 16 practices during spring. We can't say like the one that we saw, that's the one that should really count. No, it's all of them collectively, and let the coaches do what they do to pick the starting lineup and go out there and win some games in the fall and win a national championship and get the Silver Bullet defense back on point. Sorry. Sorry.
They don't call it the Silver Bullet anymore. Didn't they change the name of it? Same concept, but I think Knowles changed the name of it. I have to go find that.
What?
It's all the same. I don't think they're calling it Silver Bullet. They're calling it something else now.
Watch yourself, Jim Knowles. Silver Bullet defense.
But hey, it's right now. Just because that's how it was done. It wasn't working before. So if Knowles wants to come in and change it up.
It worked. Never mind.
You know,
I'll be nice.
We'll see what happens. But, and that's what I'm most excited about, too, heading into this upcoming season is personnel. Was it personnel or was it, scheme? I'm more inclined to say it had a lot to do with scheme. How about, talking with Bobby about, we talk about NIL so much.
Mm-hmm.
And we just assume, oh man, these guys getting paid, but we never really sit down. I cannot wait another year or two of this and really just sit down with an athlete that was able to go through the recruiting process. I can't wait it's going to be another couple years before we can get to someone that was recruited out of high school,
right,
with the NIL dangling in front of them. Like the transfer portal, that money's been dangling for a couple years now, but for coming out of high school, I would love to know what the recruiting journey is like for kids right now in high school. How much has the recruiting pitch changed? In regards to how much of what percent was taken out of that pitch that was replaced with NIL, because we just talk about it like, oh yeah, NIL, they get paid. Well, we don't really know how much.
Right.
We just say, a lot of money. I mean, you or Bobby said, we're talking in the 6-figure range.
Right.
That's something. I just want to know a good hard number. What's the common number? And what about for those mid-tier guys? I mean, it's one thing to do 6 figures for like the Ewers of the world and the CJ Strouds of the world, but what about the mid-tier guys? That's what I'm really fascinated about whenever that time comes.
Yeah, NIL is a new beast, but I think something Bobby touched on is very critical. Now that basically the guys or the teams out there that are in it to win it, I think all those teams are all on the same level as payment, whatever. So it's really going to come back down to where you want to play football. Because if Ohio State is offering you, let's just throw out a number, $50K, and Bama's offering you $50K. So, all right, that's a wash. The money's a wash. Where do you want to go play football? So now that if everybody's all back on the same level as paying everybody the same thing, it comes back to what you're really there for, to play football and develop as a football player. So once it's like that, then I don't think it'll be so much of a quote unquote issue. But it's still some time away because there's still a lot of legalities. Every state isn't playing by the same rules and everything like that. So once that gets ironed out for the next, maybe 4 or 5 years, that'll probably take, knowing our government. And I think it'll be perfectly fine. But yeah, I think NIL is helping women's sports a lot more. I was listening to an interview with Dawn Staley, the head basketball coach of South Carolina. They just won the tournament for women. And she said once it became legal in July, she sat down with all her 12 scholarship players and basically set them up in Zoom calls with agents and their parents and everything like that. So every player on the team had the agent that they needed to make those deals happen. So by the time their season came around in like October, I'm not even worried about it because I know I did the work up front. Now, what you don't have in football is just 12 people. You got 85 scholarship players and everything like that. So I think basketball had a little more run up time because their season doesn't start until October, where football starts in August.
Yeah. Another quick thing on this. I want to make sure we get to an individual. It's his birthday today.
Birthday boy.
Dick from Dayton, but get to him in a second. But the other thing we talked about, Dwayne Haskins, there will be some sort of not memorial, but some kind of an opportunity to kind of honor him before the spring game, after the spring game, in the middle of the spring game, with not a whole lot of details as far as that's concerned, but something to keep an eye out. Not sure how many of our listeners are going to be making it out to the shoe on Saturday, but that's going to be a very strange and sad situation because that was gut wrenching getting that news. I believe it was on Saturday morning
out of nowhere.
Yep. And then it led to the big fiasco with Adam Schefter. And, I don't think Adam Schefter is a bad dude. I know it came across very just insensitive.
Yeah.
I think it's very fair to label that as very insensitive. I don't think that he, people keep bringing up, oh, that's that Michigan rivalry and Ohio State. I without a shadow of a doubt, I have 1,000,000% confidence that the Michigan-Ohio State thing had nothing to do with that tweet. It was very insensitive. I do believe Adam Schefter is very bullet pointed as far as, football takes. I just think that was the moment to take your football cap off and report that, yes, but there was no need to include the struggles at Washington or the struggles with Pittsburgh as far as any kind of footing to be, a starting quarterback in the NFL. That didn't matter. I don't care if Dwayne was the worst quarterback in the National Football League. That's sad, and there was no need for that in the tweet. He took it down. He apologized. But like I said earlier, apologies don't matter. It's just one of those things that was unfortunate because that dominated a lot of the talks that day. But I still haven't wrapped my head around what has happened with Dwayne Haskins. It just still seems so just surreal at this point. So
very, very surreal. I saw the initial tweet that Saturday morning. And I was like, what? And then I was like, well, man, that seemed a little weird on the tweet. Like, what does that have to do with a person passing away, such a young person passing away? And then my brother sent me the Gil Brandt interview. And I refused to listen to it because I still haven't listened to it because I just didn't want that type of negativity invading me at that point, man. It's a loss of a young life and everything like that. Somebody that wasn't able to, live their life. I mean, this is someone's son, brother, husband, and everything like that. It's sad whenever someone passes away, but life cut so short at a young age. So RIP to Dwayne Haskins.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. There'll be plenty of Ohio State spring game coverage coming up from 6 to 7 p.m. And then one of the new shows on WING is the Wing Reds Weekly, hosted by Shay Neal.
Say that 5 times
Shay
fast.
has worked with the station for about, 6 years now, going back to when his uncle was hosting Dayton Sports Scene here on 1410 Wing AM. Mark Neal, his nephew Shay's been with us since Mark was here. So Shay's been awesome. He's graduating from Wright State. He's kicked ass at student radio station over there and has been a huge backbone, part of the major, piece here to our success at the station. He's always reliable and he does a great job on air. I'm excited as his show debuts tonight at 7 o'clock, Wing Reds Weekly. But before we end the show and get to the Ohio State spring game coverage, Dick A., how are you, my birthday friend?
I'm good. How are you, Kevin and Justin? I'm good, buddy. I got to play a little music today, starting to get pretty, I'm pretty happy about it. People are getting to know me a lot now, guys.
Well, you have a lot more time on your hands now that you're living that retired life, but we have about 60 seconds, Dick from Dayton. What are you doing for your birthday? Have you done anything special for your birthday yet?
No, I went out to, I played a gig today, and I'm just going to relax tonight and open some presents and have a good time.
You got some presents all lined up? Did you ask for anything in particular?
Well, one of my friends, her daughter made me a wreath that says, Browns fan never die. How about that?
How about that? That is really cool.
You ought to see it. I ought to show it to you sometime. It's a wreath that says, Browns fan allowed here. Isn't that cute?
That's awesome, Dickie. Well, hey, enjoy the rest of your, your birthday. I'm glad you got some cool presents. I hope you get some more cool stuff. It's great hearing your voice today, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, make sure you tell Jimmy and Tony Grosey hi.
I will. I'll let them know it's your birthday as well, man.
They always ask about me, don't they?
Every time. But, hey, happy birthday, Dickie. Good hearing from you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Later, Dickie.
Absolute best. Love Dickie. Dickie, take care, man. Happy birthday once again. The Ohio State spring game coverage, the preview show, coming up next from 6 to 7, and then from 7 to 8, you'll hear Wing Reds Weekly with Shay Neal. That's all coming up. 1410 ESPN Radio.